Welcome everyone to the Ace Meltdown. It is our new $5 tier show on Patreon. You know who we are, but I'm Peter. That's Tara.
Hello.
Tim gets really upset.
You should have said, "You're welcome, everybody," because this is a gift.
It's a bit.
No?
I don't know if I like the tone that gives off.
Well, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Was it not?
No.
How did it happen then? Did I talk you into this? Was this?
Of course you did.
Look, this was a great idea. We're here. We're going to talk about the different movies we've been watching over the past month. Not sci-fi, because we're going to save sci-fi for the main show. That said, though, the opening ice-breaking segment, the quiz, will be sci-fi related to keep it somewhat on topic with our branding. But yes, it's called the Meltdown. The idea, if we're going with the whole lab like experimentation like scenario, is that we're overflowing with movies. So this is where we get to talk about the other movies that we don't talk about on the show. So yes. So, but not restricted to anything other than the fact that we're not doing sci-fi, and I won't do horror because I talk about horror on Screams After Midnight. But Tara can bring up horror movies to her heart's content.
I've got some horror movies.
I suspect you do. Yes, and if you're, and I imagine a lot of you probably listen to both Ace and Screams. You probably know that on the last Even More Streams, Tim got annoyed because he thought Meltdown was a cooler name than Even More Streams. Even though the only reason why I went out my way to name it something like Meltdown was so that it wasn't just Even More Ace, because I thought that would annoy him. And then he admitted that also would annoy him. So, I can't win.
I think he just wanted you to come up with a name that was really bad.
Okay. Well, the Ace farts more?
I mean, that is a bad name.
Probably not the
I
worst.
might have an issue with it. Although I am always full of hot gas.
I don't even know what else you'd call it. Meltdown's the name. Movies is the game.
Makes sense. Atomic, you know.
Thank you. That's what I
melting down.
That's what I was going for. I was trying to keep it on brand.
Yeah, it totally works.
Yeah, so here we are. So much like Even More Streams, Tim usually does like a little quiz or something for me to do. I've done it in this case for Tara, because I talked Tara into this show, so I should do the work.
That was what I said to you, yes.
So I've done a quiz for Tara to start the show off. And sometimes we might have like a topic or a big news item or something if there's something that we want to talk about that's sci-fi-esque, or even just movie-esque if we really want to talk about something that happened, whether it be a big trailer or just some earth-shattering movie news, like, you know, for example, if something else like Disney buying Fox happens again, maybe we'd talk about that or something. But yes, by this episode, simple, we're going to do the quiz, and then we're just going to like bounce back and forth of what movies we've been watching, and then when I run out of movies, Tara's then going to continue for another hour talking about the other 50 movies she watched, because she just watches movies over and over.
I watched 4 movies today. It's Saturday.
Alright, well, without further ado, we should get into it. Are you excited about trying this? Are you excited about the new show? As much as I've roped you into it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems easy enough. I mean,
it's the beauty of it.
I hope you guys are okay with it.
It's an excuse for some banter more than anything else. So
I like that I don't really have homework because I watch movies all the time anyway.
That's the genius of it. The genius. And for me, I have an excuse, so I have a deadline to watch some movies for, because I can't function without a reason to do something though, apparently, because I'm just so used to everything I watch for being for content.
Yeah.
It's my own weird warped brain and what being a YouTuber and podcaster's done to me, but that's okay. I am making it work.
Well, hopefully I give you some inspiration today to check out some films.
Oh, maybe I'll come back next month and I'll have watched a few of the ones that you watched because you recommended them. So yeah, and if I've seen any of the films you've watched, then good. Because that's conversation.
I know you've seen at least one of them.
Yes, I may possibly even judge you, depending on your opinion on it.
Oh yeah. There's going to be some judgment.
There will be judgment. That could be the tagline of the show.
I don't know how many people know, because I only ever do like science fiction stuff. But my other favorite genre of film is just trash.
Yes, bad movies. Yes.
I love bad movies.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes. That could have been the other title. It could be the Ace Radioactive Movie Wasteland or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get into the opening quiz. I don't really have a. Tim tries to name all the quiz. I'm not actually name each quiz, but I wonder if we should have a name for the segment, like it's the. I don't know. Atomic test results or something. I don't know.
We do something Chernobyl related.
Let's whip out the Geiger counter. Let's see how many rotogens you score, Tara.
I like it. Okay. We're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Reactor 4. We'll do a Reactor 4 quiz.
The Reactor 4 quiz. All right, so yeah, I have stole this one from Tim. This is from an even more, just with sci-fi movies instead. But I am going to give you the movie tagline from a poster. And it's your job to tell me what the movie is.
Okay.
All right.
What kind of movies are we talking here? I know you said sci-fi, but like movies we've reviewed?
I don't think we've reviewed all of these, but I mean, nothing on here is not something you don't know. There's nothing like so obscure that you're going to be like, whoa, how dare you put that on there? Now, there is a couple of hard ones, but they're hard in an interesting way because they're like, wait, that's that movie's tagline? Like, so I think it's worth having them here, even if you make an arse of yourself, try to answer them.
Okay.
just so we learn some of these weird taglines that we maybe never noticed before. So an example.
Give me an easy one.
Right, this isn't one of the questions, but just an example here for anyone who's just trying to understand the game. I might say, in space, no one can hear you scream. And Tara would respond with...
Alien Resurrection.
And she would be wrong. And, that'd be 0 points.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. So, yes, but here we go. Number 1 is 10. I put in 10. It seemed like a nice number. All right. Number
passing 5.
If you want a passing grade, yeah, 5 can be the pass.
Well, what's my goal? Like, how do I know if I won? Do I get all 10 to win?
No. Yeah, okay. If you get half, we can say you won. Okay. I don't know what I can give you for winning, though. I don't know if there's anything we can do in the show as a reward, but you can... I don't know. Come up with the catchphrase of the show.
Okay. Sounds like you're giving me homework as a reward.
I know. I meant on the show by the end of the episode, not like before next month. That's not nothing fun about that. All right, number 1.
Okay, I hope I lose.
Number 1. He is afraid. He is totally alone. He is 3 million light years from home.
I don't know.
You can try and piece it together. What's it saying?
Okay, he's afraid. He's alone. He's 3 million miles from home. Navigator?
Not Navigator, but you're not necessarily...
Or Flight of the Navigator?
You're not in, like, the wrong ballpark, by any means.
Okay. Silent Running? How am I doing?
I thought this was one of the easier ones. Oh, we're in for a treat here. That's going to be a gauntlet of misery. This is what.
All right, I think I failed this one.
Okay, this one's E.T.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, you can see that one makes sense. So because some of these I might argue don't make much sense, but this one makes sense. Yeah. So that's E.T. Feel free to play along at home, and tell us how you did. Number 2. Why are they here?
Why are they here?
All sci-fi.
Sounds like an alien thing. Sounds like we're dealing with aliens, not xenomorphs. I don't think you would do a second Spielberg. Oh, screw it. Close Encounters.
The answer is Arrival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So again, that one makes sense, right? Because that's the whole question of the movie. It's what they're trying to figure out the whole time. Hey,
who knows taglines?
Look in the bright side. Look in the bright side. If you get 0 out of 10 this week, just imagine next month how good it's going to feel when you get one right. Okay, just.
Well, you gonna do the same one again?
No. It'll be a different quiz. So
I'll prepare.
It'll be a different quiz. You're gonna go out and just look at movie posters. I'm gonna memorize every fucking tagline in every single sci-fi movie.
I don't know taglines. I don't know taglines, and I don't know directors.
Oh, I know what next month's quiz is going to be. Okay, number 3. The ultimate in alien terror. Like a heartbeat
Doesn't sound
effect.
like a nice movie.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom.
The Guyver.
Would you like another crack at that one before
The Predator?
It's The Thing.
Okay. It makes sense.
No, it's a little bit more vague, because that could apply to just about anything with like a monster in it, but like...
Yeah, the Guyver would have worked. Are you sure it's not the Guyver one?
I'm positive. I'm positive. I mean, they might have used it as well, because I wouldn't be surprised if they just stole taglines from other movies. You know how there's that movie Ghost Ship that came out in 2005, and the tagline on the poster was, "At sea, no one can hear you screaming." I'm like, yeah, see what you did there.
I don't know, because I don't know taglines.
All right, number 4. You could probably figure this one out, even if you don't recognize it. Okay. Hunted by your future, haunted by your past.
Time Cop?
No.
Looper?
Looper! That's a point on the scoreboard.
All right. It's my second guess. Actually, I was going to go Looper first, but I thought, well, he hates that movie, so he wouldn't pick that one.
My liking the movie has no bearing on what I would put on the quiz. Okay. Number 5. Amazing companions on an incredible adventure that journeys beyond imagination. Can I just say, I don't think you'll get this in a million years, because I don't think it fits the movie at all.
Okay.
Which admittedly...
Is it the one that you made me watch from your childhood?
No. No. It's not Explorers.
That's the one I was thinking of.
That sounded weird.
Come on, it kind of fits that.
Yeah. That's the thing. I don't think this fits the movie at all. Like, I put this on here because I was gobsmacked when I saw this poster and went, wait, that's this movie's tagline?
Okay, so I have no chance. So, Trancers 2.
This is Silent Running.
Oh. You laughed when I said that.
Let me read again. Amazing companions on an incredible adventure that journeys beyond imagination.
Yeah, it just makes sense. I mean, the amazing companions are right, although I don't think he sees them as amazing companions, because it kind of just lets them, die.
Journeys beyond imagination. That makes it sound more like a Star Warsy movie or something.
Yeah, or like they're going, to alien worlds or something.
Yeah. That is a really misleading tagline.
This quiz is bad. Throw it up.
We're finished, damn it. So number 6. It's
Yes,
nothing
one out of
personal. What? Yeah, you got 1 out of 5.
5.
Yes. It's nothing personal. This one's also really hard because we both know this movie well. And I would never, like, until I looked at the poster today, I looked at this and went, that's this movie's tagline? I was gobsmacked. I don't think it makes any sense for the movie, and especially when it's such a big movie. I don't, like, I can't fathom.
Recall.
No.
RoboCop?
No.
Starship Troopers?
You took the wrong hint from my reaction.
What was the first thing I said? Total Recall. Oh, so it's another Arnold film.
I can neither confirm nor deny such a thing.
Terminator?
No.
Predator?
No.
I'm out.
It's Terminator 2.
Oh, really?
Really, that's the tagline. He's on the motorbike. It says it's nothing. Like,
It's called Judgment Day. It's nothing personal. What?
What does that have to do with the plot of Terminator 2?
I don't know. It's dumb. Are you sure you're not getting these from like the Italian posters?
No, it was the official, regular, famous poster. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what the hell's that got to do with Terminator 2?
James Cameron was probably like, we need a tagline for the poster. Whatever you guys come up with.
Yeah, I don't
Who
think.
looks at the taglines? Nobody.
Well, you certainly don't.
No. I don't.
All right. Number 7. You are not welcome here.
Does it make sense for the movie?
It does.
Have I said this movie title already?
No.
Okay. Can you repeat it?
You are not welcome here. I'll give you another hint. We've not done this in the show yet.
Just pull up the list. But I've seen it.
Yeah, you've definitely seen it.
RoboCop. No, I already said that. Never mind. It has to be a big one. Forbidden Planet?
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's District 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, actually, I think I have seen this tagline.
Yes.
Now that you mention it.
This one's actually
I
more.
can picture it on the poster.
Yeah, it's more prominent because it's on like a sign on the poster.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
I'm really bad at this.
Number 8. Come on, you can get 2 points. I believe that you can hit a second point. Come on.
Okay.
2 point Tara. Go on. I believe in her. Number 8. What happens if it actually works? I actually like this tagline. I think this is perfect for the movie. What happens if it actually works?
Have we reviewed it?
We have.
Have I said the name of the movie?
I don't think so, no.
Does it have to do with time travel?
Yes.
Primer?
It is Primer!
Ah! All right.
2 points, Tara.
2 point.
All right, can we go for trio point Tara? Triple Tara. Number 9. Searching for our beginning could lead to our end.
It's almost a Star Trek title.
Because searching for is the first 2 words of Star Trek 3.
Well, it's almost a tagline.
Okay.
I'm certain of it. Searching for her beginning could be her end?
Not her, just searching for our beginning could lead to our
beginning.
end.
Prometheus?
It is Prometheus. Look at that.
All right.
Trio Tara.
Triple T.
Oh, could it be Tetra Tara?
Oh, is there another
There's one
left?
more. That was number 9. We got number 10.
Okay.
I think you've got a shot. I think you've got a shot at this. And
God told me to.
And the reason why I think you've got a shot at this is because I think we brought this tagline up when we discussed this movie.
Oh, I already don't know. All right. Let's see.
Number 10. He's in town with a few days to kill.
No, I don't know. I don't remember this tagline. He's in town with a few days to kill.
It's a great tagline. You'll like
It is good.
You'll like it when you hear the movie.
Have I said the name of the movie already?
No.
Is this a very well received film?
By us.
It's a Predator 2.
It is Predator 2.
Very good, very good. So I'm 4 out of 10 with some hints and a couple second guesses.
I never said it had to be first guess.
All right, well, now you know, like, what I'm capable of here. So hopefully the quiz next time will be catered with a little bit of a handicap. And I have a little bit of revenge for you, because I also made a quiz.
Oh, this is a surprise. I did not know this. Tara kept
I was
this
keeping
quiet.
it mum.
Oh.
This is a quiz that I think you'll do very well in.
Dueling
but I would do absolutely
quizzes.
terrible at.
Okay. Hit me with the rules.
Well, I'll hit you with the title. It is called Dead or Alive, Sci-Fi Edition.
Okay.
I am going to list a movie. I have 5 films. I have picked 2 actors or actresses from this film, and you have to tell me if they are currently dead or alive.
Okay. Is this specifically sci-fi or just in general?
I picked sci-fi movies.
That's cool. Okay. All right. So what to expect here?
So, like, you will know the name of the actor or the character that they played.
Okay.
That's why I went with that.
So,
Right?
so it's 2 alive, 1 dead. You said?
No, I said it's dead or alive. I'm going to pick 2 actors from.
Oh,
5
okay. It was 2.
films,
Okay. No, I was asking.
And
I
you're going to
wasn't.
tell me if they're alive or dead.
Yeah, I wasn't asking the title. I was just. I thought you said pick. You were going to give me 3, and I had to pick which one was dead. But no, okay. Right, I get it.
I think you'll do very well at this game, but I am notoriously bad because I just think everybody's dead. So many of these, I was like, what? All right, I'm going to start off with the easy one.
Okay.
I'm going to pick 2 from Alien. Tell me, Peter, today, currently, is Tom Skerritt alive or dead?
Alive.
That is correct. Is Veronica Cartwright alive or dead?
Alive.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
She-
Alien.
She was on the Swamp Thing TV show a couple of years ago, so unless she died very recently, I was feeling pretty good
See,
about
I
that
told
one.
you you're going to be so good at this, and I was really bad. I legit thought like Tom Skerritt was dead. Where you going?
I'm back.
Gonna check IMDb. Oh, I was gonna say IMDb. Number 2 is Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Tell me, is Roddy McDowall alive or dead?
That one's tougher. I'm going to say alive.
Incorrect.
Nah.
He died in 1998.
All right.
That's all right. Kim Hunter, who played Zira, is she alive or dead?
It's an older movie, so I should be skewing towards guessing dead, but I feel like I'm going to say alive.
Incorrect. She is
Damn it.
also passed on.
I'm 2 out
It
of
is an
4.
older film. She died in 2002.
Okay.
On to the third film, The Terminator. Tell me, is Dick Miller alive or dead?
Dick Miller just passed away in the last year or 2.
That is correct. He died in 2019.
Yeah.
One out for Dick Miller.
Yeah. Who, by the way, is in one of the movies that I'm going to talk about today.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. All right. Tell me, actor Earl Bone, who played Dr. Silberman, is he alive or dead?
I really don't know. I'll say he's alive.
He's that guy, right?
Yeah.
That is correct. He is alive.
Yes. All right. 4 out of 6.
Both of them right.
Yeah, 4 out of 6. Okay, I'm feeling good now.
On to my personal favorite movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Tell me, is Keir Dullea, who played Dave, alive or dead?
This is the same year as Planet of the Apes, so time's not on their side. Time's not on their side. I genuinely don't know, but for the first time, I'm going to guess dead.
That is incorrect. He is still alive and kicking, and I believe he's still working.
Oh, fair enough.
Dave's partner, Frank Poole, played by Gary Lockwood, is he alive or dead?
You look like a man that lived life hard. I'm going to say dead.
Incorrect. He's still alive as well.
Oh my, come on. All right. 4 out of 8. I'm actually 50-50 now. This last movie better be good.
Yeah, no, you're actually doing much better. You got because you got Tom Skerritt wrong, but you got Veronica Cartwright right.
Oh, so
you
I'm
actually have 5.
Oh, 5 out of 8. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So you already won because my rules are 5.
Okay.
But I thought you honestly I thought, no pun intended, but I thought you'd kill it. All right.
That pun was intended. That was intended.
No.
That was so intentional. Oh no, you're gonna kill it. No pun intended.
I picked another one of your favorites.
Okay.
I have picked Chopping Mall. Tell me.
Like I know anyone in this movie other than Dick Miller or Garrett Graham. But go on.
Is Mary Warrenoff alive?
I mean, this is only the 80s, so unless something tragic happened, she should be. I'll say yes.
That is correct. She is alive.
Okay.
She was in the movie. She was in a Ty West movie not too long ago.
Oh, nice.
And this one you have to get.
Was she the old woman in X? No, because that was what's her face playing both parts.
She was in the whatever the pizza blood sacrifice movie was in the house.
Oh, House of the Devil.
House of the Devil, yeah.
Okay.
Is Garrett Graham alive or dead?
He's alive.
Correct.
Hanging
that
on,
one was a given.
Hanging on
I
by
thought
a
I'd
thread.
give you an easy one just in case you were struggling. So you did great. You got 7 out of 10, so that's a win.
I'm
So
happy
I hope
with
you
that.
enjoyed that, because I myself did terrible. I swore that so many people were alive or were dead.
That was a
Tom
treat.
Skerritt was dead. I thought Mary Warrenoff was dead. I thought both the guys from 2001 were dead. I knew Dick Miller had died also. I figured you'd probably get that one.
Yeah, I saw when that popped up because it made me sad.
Yeah. I mean, he lived a good life, or a long life.
Oh, he was like 90. Yeah, he did a good run.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that surprise quiz. I liked making it.
I'm glad. Is this something we can expect on the regular basis?
Depends if I have time.
Okay.
I don't know
always
if I'll
one.
do Dead or Alive again, at least not for a little while. But
Oh yeah, you can rotate into different things if you want.
we're not supposed to both drink at the same time. Podcasting 101.
I needed to be hydrated. I'm sorry. It's hot. What do you want from me? My forehead's like.
It is. It's hot here too.
My brow. Like, I need like an assistant to wipe my brow every so often, like I'm doing surgery.
Yeah. I need fans to be on, but they make noise, so I have to have them off.
Yes. Tara's suffering for your entertainment, everyone.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
To the Ace Meltdown.
Hey, it fits the title of the show. We're melting. So.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll get on to what movies we've been watching this past month. And since Tara definitely has more than I do, I've got a healthy amount. I have 6. I almost had 7. I was going to squeeze another one in last night, but I just didn't feel like watching a movie. I wanted to sit and just kind of chill. So, but I've got 6, and there, I tried to make a reasonable, like, I tried to hit some films from directors that I like that I've not seen before. Tried to cross off something that was like recent that I wanted to see. A couple of classics I hadn't seen, that kind of thing. But Tara definitely has more. So Tara is going to start us off with your first movie.
Well, I thought I'd go into, instead of talking about a movie first, I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con this year, which was a surprise.
That's just Tim's bad influence.
I thought maybe I'd like.
This is Tim's bad influence. This stretching the rules.
Wait, did you not want to like? I don't know. I thought this was like a place to like talk about stuff.
It is. I'm kidding.
This is not a safe space.
This is Tim
for my nerdom.
Tim was like, just casually introduced in like episode 3. Yeah, I'm going to talk about a TV show, and I'm like, oh, I guess we're doing that.
Oh, I can talk about a TV show for sure.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, it's not going to go. It's Comic-Con. Tell us all.
Yeah, I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con. It was a surprise thing, and I haven't been since 2006. But a friend of mine, I think she had like a surprise plan to go to Hawaii or something, so she had her pass available. And because, they're not that diligent on what they check, I just was able to walk in with it. So everything worked out, and I got to go to San Diego Comic-Con for 2 days. I went Saturday and Sunday.
As someone who's never been, I just need to ask a question just to make that story make sense. Is her photo on the pass?
No.
No, okay.
So, but there is a chance that they would check for ID, and also because of COVID, wasn't quite sure how it would work out if I had to like show them my ID with my pass and my vaccination card, or if it would be my ID and my vaccination card, or my pass and my vaccination card. It was actually 2 different booths for that. So they had a separate booth where you got your vaccination checked, and they gave you like a wristband for it. And then you go to the main entrance, and all they need is your pass and to see that you had the wristband. So it all worked out. I made the drive to San Diego, which isn't too bad for me. And I had a place to stay already because friends had already, had stuff booked. And yeah, so I got some cool stuff, and I thought I'd share.
By all means.
I hadn't been, since 2006, and I didn't go to like the main room where they do all the big Marvel stuff. I was there that day, but you
have to queue from like the day before or something stupid like that to get into that Hall H.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit better this year because it's the first time since it was shut down for COVID.
Maybe enough people weren't going back. A lot of people
were still not we're not comfortable with going into a crowd. And even a lot of the guests kind of canceled because of that. I remember going to see, every time I went before, when I used to go, they have a segment called Quick Draw, which they still have, and it's really fun. They have 3 cartoonists go on stage, and you can see what they're drawing, and it's kind of like a game show thing where they'll say, draw purple, but they only have like a black ink marker, and they have to draw the concept of purple, and someone has to like guess what they're drawing, or whatever. It's like a little competition show with really amazing cartoonists who are hilarious. And
so it sounds like
Aragones goes every year, but he didn't go this year because he wasn't quite comfortable being in the crowd.
It's like, some people of course have got like conditions and stuff, so they have like more reason to.
He is older as well. Yeah.
It sounds like extreme difficulty Pictionary to me from what you just described.
Yes, it's like Pictionary with the 3 funniest best drawers that you've ever seen. So, it's very cool. It's a very fun thing to go to if anyone gets a chance. I did the Masquerade, which was really fun to watch. I'd never done that before because that only happens on Saturday night, and it's after like all the stuff is shut down for the day. Because usually everything's done by like 5 or 6 or something, but this one happens at like 8 o'clock at night on the Saturday. So people come up and they do their costumes, and it's a big reveal. It's really awesome. If you see the documentary on Comic-Con, they follow a group that does that, and all the costumes, like they can't wear it at the con. They have to like keep it secret until the big reveal of the Masquerade. That's the first time they're allowed to wear it. So it's always like this big extravagant thing. It's really cool. People are so great. And I also tried to go to a couple Babylon 5 stuff since we've been watching Babylon 5, but J. Michael Straczynski was going to have a thing on Saturday, and he didn't go. He canceled. They said because he's busy, because he's working on a new show, but I don't know. Maybe it's because he just didn't want to be around crowds.
Maybe. But I mean,
and
that's possibly good news, though, if he's working on the new Babylon 5.
Yeah, I think they might have said that also just to be like, I know you fans are upset, but like, he's busy, wink, wink. And because that would be an easy way to tell a bunch of nerds, angry nerds, that he's not coming. And then there was like Remembering Babylon 5 on Sunday, and I did go to that. But the guy who was like hosting the panel was alone, and he had a slideshow of like pictures of people that he invited to do Remember Babylon 5 with him. Because keep in mind the description on the panel said Remembering Babylon 5 with cast and crew, and it was just one guy who was there for a season and a half, and he did some visual effects stuff. So it was just a slideshow of all the people who didn't call him back for Comic-Con. And then the other half of the slideshow was all the people who died and his memory of the ones that he worked with. And then it was questions for like 30 minutes. So that was kind of a disappointment. So yeah. Quick Draw is great as always. And Masquerade was really fun. But otherwise, like the rest of the panels that I got to see were meh. The best part, I think, of Comic-Con is walking the floor and doing, seeing all the artists. And I did get a piece commissioned, so I wanted to share, because this is also the year that I have had a new fandom, which is Quantum Leap, and I'm so excited that it's coming back next month, new show, and I think the standout actor / character from the show for me has been Al, played by Dean Stockwell, who passed last year. Rest in peace. And I got a piece commissioned by cartoonist Jacob Chabot of Al in his like best costume. And he's holding Ziggy. I love it. And I just wanted to share that. Also found a guy who made a Doom sticker, but he did it with Zool.
From Ghostbusters?
Yeah. I thought that was clever. And I got a poster for Future World, which is not a movie we reviewed yet, but I think it's such a cool poster. I love like the retro futurism look. I think this poster is awesome.
That's cool.
It's kind of similar to the one for Westworld, which was, you know, a similar concept with Yul Brynner. Also like the face kind of being separated to see the robot parts underneath it. Ah. And yeah, I had a really great time. So I just wanted to share that.
That's pretty cool, and it's actually kind of neat that obviously you try to do some Babylon 5 stuff, which relates to stuff we're doing, but also the Quantum Leap talk is not irrelevant, because not only are we going to be looking at the new show when we're done with Babylon 5, it's looking pretty likely that that's the classic Quantum Leap is what we're going to replace it with. So
I'm so excited to talk about that show. I watched it all this year. I just sort of like, I put it on in the background because, you know, after Dean Stockwell died, like people were just talking about their memories of the show. And I thought, you know, I should really give it a chance, because I had a friend when I was younger who loved it, and I never watched it. But like, I liked this person's recommendations before, so it's just kind of planted seeds in my brain, you know? So I thought, I'm just going to put it on in background. And as like something to put on in between the movies I watch while I do other stuff, like, you know, cook or whatever. And I just got so sucked into it so quickly, and it was such a fun concept. I mean, the show is like full of holes as far as like what makes sense.
Oh, but sure.
It is. But like the two leads are so good in it, and it's such a surprise because I really only know Scott Bakula from Star Trek Enterprise, where honestly he was like kind of a disappointment as far as like a character goes, and he's the captain of the show, he's the lead, so I wasn't sure how much I would like him because of my experience with Enterprise, which is the show I do still like, and I probably rewatch it more than any other Star Trek series, but I do think his character is very weak.
What's funny is that I know Scott Bakula from Chuck, and that's kind of amusing to me because he was cast on that show as Chuck's dad, if I remember right. And the reason for that is because he's this kind of like nerd royalty. He's done Quantum Leap and he's done Star Trek. Linda Hamilton ended up playing his mother, again nerd royalty because of Terminator. There was a lot of casting like that in Chuck. So it's just funny that I know him from that first, because he's only in that because he had this like legacy of these other shows. But
let me ask you something: is he really likable in that show?
Oh, it's been a while. I remember thinking he was likable though,
because he is like so likable in everything except for Star Trek that I've seen so far.
Well,
and, like,
hold on a minute.
Where they try to make him unlikable, like he doesn't act well, like he doesn't do well, like he
Sure.
has to either play himself, which is a really likable guy, or he's a bad actor. That's what I have come to conclude.
I was going to say I've seen clips from that sitcom he did, The Obscura Slipper. Well, she's not called that anymore. She's just Alison Franklin now. I still think of her as Obscura Slipper because that's what she was going by, like way back when she started. That awful, like, really
great.
dated sitcom that he was in for 13 episodes that got cancelled.
Yeah, but I think she made the similar point. It's just like he can't play a douchebag that's like, or like a likable scumbag, like, because that's just not him. He just is. It's impossible for him to do that. Because I've watched like a couple episodes of his NCIS New Orleans show, and like he's great in it because he's playing like a really likable dude.
I'm going to use a wrestling term to describe him, but he's good at doing white meat baby faces, which is genuine, nice, like lovable people with good values. He's not the badass. He's not the one who can be witty. He's not. Like Kurt Russell. I'm not thinking of like a John Carpenter style actor who like walks into him. He's like, yeah, I'm Snake Plissken, and like he can't necessarily do a white meat baby face. He has to be cool. He has to be cool and badass
Always.
and slick, right? That's what he is, or not even slick. Rugged is maybe a better word for him, but yeah, it's just something. The reason why I use that wrestling term is because it's something that whenever wrestlers try to be that type of like hero character, it tends to not work that well. There's only a few people who are really good at it because it usually comes off as kind of phony because it is so it's actually really impressive when you meet an actor that's what they're good at, is just completely genuine. Like I'm not even saying Scott Bakula could play Superman, but that Superman type quality of he's just good and he's likable good, and it doesn't come off as phony.
And, I mean, Quantum Leap is such a showcase for him because like he gets to. I mean, he's still playing the same guy, but he has to do something different literally every episode. He's got to pretend to be Scott. He has to pretend to be Sam Beckett, who's pretending to be somebody else and always making the right decision, and he's great in it. Like, he's so good.
I think the fun of us doing this is that not only when we do the classic show, the different perspective of you having seen it and me not having seen it, which I don't think will be that problematic because it's very episodic, right? It's not like you're going to be like, oh, this is crazy thing is going to happen in the future that I can't talk about, but I have to hint at, I don't think you're going to have to do that. But also watching the new show, as someone who won't have started the old show yet and seeing how that works for a new person, I think will be interesting because we won't be able to start the old show until I think like November, December was when we'll be wrapping up B5. So it'll be interesting to see the comparison there and how it all works out. But no, so yeah, I guess this turned into a plug for the upcoming Quantum Leap coverage. So
yeah,
look forward, folks.
Honestly, I'm just excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I was excited to see it. This has been a show that's been on the periphery of my nerddom for a long time, and this is a good excuse as any.
Hopefully with the new show, like maybe it'll bring some people in.
Yeah. I hope
maybe
so.
Maybe not though, because it's like a NBC show, so I don't know if a lot of young people are going to be like, oh, what's this Quantum Leap?
I think it helps in just people are searching for it a lot more. People are discovering the old show. I think it does help. And if it doesn't last very long because it gets cancelled after like 13 episodes, then no biggie, we'll just keep doing the old show.
That's true.
But hey,
I really hope it's good.
I also hope it's good. And there's some weird things with it where they're repurposing the pilot to be episode 3 and they're doing a new first episode, which sounds a little bit wonky. Like maybe we're going to see some weird things come out of that, but
yeah, I don't know. Like I've heard some people who have had their hands on the script talk about things, and they seemed really happy with what with what was being made already. Like it was good for new people and good for fans, legacy fans. So I mean, we'll see. I have faith. I watched Kevin Can F Himself because the guy who's playing the lead in Quantum Leap was in that show, and I was just curious about his character and like his acting and stuff like that. And it was a really great show. It also had can't remember her name, but she was in Schitt's Creek, which was also Annie something. She was fantastic in that show. She was a real standout. So, also a plug for Kevin Can F Himself. It was a great show. Should I talk about movies?
Yeah. Oh, and Jill State's going to be in the new Quantum Leap, which is exciting.
I don't know who that is, but I'm glad you're excited.
From Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly from Firefly. She's also in one of the Stargate shows as well, I think, for one of the later ones. But yeah.
Ernie Hudson's in it.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Ernie Hudson. The by far the Ghostbuster who has aged the most gracefully.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
See when I saw Afterlife, which is a really mixed bag of a movie, like Venkman and Ray are both looking like really old and like sad, and Ernie walks in looking like so cool in his suit.
Yeah, he looks great. You're right.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll kick off with the movie then.
Sure.
And we can go back and forth from there. All right. So will I just go in order that I watched, or would you like me to mix it up a little bit?
Mix it up.
Mix it up. Okay. I've got a variety of like eras represented here. I guess I'll go with I mentioned Dick Miller was in something, so I'll start with that. I watched a Joe Dante movie that I hadn't seen before, and I'd been kind of like, meaning to for a while. And this is 1993's Matinee, which is set during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it's about John Goodman's character, who is this like sort of knockoff Hitchcock style director who is doing lots of cheesy B movie like monster movies, and he's coming to Key West, which is like a military town near the border and all that, and he's
the Florida Keys, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's like a lot of the ships that were going to Cuba and the Cuban waters were deploying from. And like the main character's a kid, and his dad's like one of the guys that's away, and so there's a bit of tension and nerves about it. But it's a really fun, like lighthearted movie though. The premise is that John Goodman is putting on this new movie, but it's got a lot of gimmicks where he'll he's got like rumble effects, he's got sheiks that like shock people, he's got like someone dressing as a rubber suit to scare them. Like the whole thing is that it's rumble rama and all these other like gimmicky style things. But it's a movie that follows the kid who loves monster movies, and him, he's like, I don't know, like 13 or something like that. It's middle school kids, and there's kind of a sweet romance going on, and it is genuinely actually quite sweet. And his love interest I recognized, and she's the older sister from Mrs. Doubtfire when I looked her up, and I was like, oh, that's a weird pull in my memory. But yeah, she didn't keep acting for that much longer. She was like an actor in a bunch of movies as a kid for like a period of time, and then it went away for whatever reason.
I can picture her face.
And the guy he befriends in it is like the main kid from Hocus Pocus, which was the same year. So it's a lot of like it's got this kind of sweet nostalgic view, and it's all about how these movies, as ridiculous as they are, is kind of a release, and it's like a time in the world where everyone needed a release because everyone was scared that like nuclear war was about to like happen. So it's really sweet and fun. It's got like just a lot of likable characters and sort of goofy ideas that are all presented very earnestly, which is kind of what I like about Joe Dante movies, is he kind of always nails that feeling to me. And I thought this was no different. So I had a really good time with it. I would recommend it. It's like 90 minutes. It's not a long movie either. It's just very, well structured, concise, to the point. And just when you think maybe like, oh, is there going to be some dated elements that don't quite work, I don't think there anything that was, to be honest. Like, it kind of handled everything just kind of right. Dick Miller's got a small role as, so he's like protesting outside of the theater. It's like, oh, they're corrupting our children and the youth with these horrible movies that are doing these things. But it's kind of revealed not too soon after that he's actually an actor who's working for John Goodman to drum up like interest. Like, it was all a bit of a ruse. But but it was making me think of as a classic. I know you've not seen Father Ted, but for people who have seen Father Ted, there's a classic episode of Father Ted where the main characters who are priests are told to go and protest this movie, and all I could get when I was watching this scene was the image of them with the sign saying "down with this sort of thing," and I don't know. It made me chuckle. I recommend the matinee though. I had a really good time. It has that Joe Dante flavor, which is really cool. And I tend to like movies that are about going to the movies, which is really weird because I saw a very similar title movie for streams like earlier this year called The Last Matinee, and I had a really good time with that as well. It was like a slasher movie in a movie theater, and I like that too. So I don't know. I
have seen this movie actually, but it's been like ages, honestly.
Oh sure,
like
yeah.
I remember watching it when I was a kid. I remember John Goodman in the movie theater, and the thing that you're describing, but like it's been so long. But I'm sure it's good because I also really like Joe Dante films, and he does just kind of nail that feel good, happy positivity.
He does.
Even Joe versus the volcano is just like such a happy movie.
Yeah.
Dealing with like sacrifice and stuff.
I haven't seen that one, but
and you haven't seen it?
And yet,
well, like it's got Tom Hanks in it, so and it's a Joe Dante film, so you know what you're getting.
Yeah, I'll make a point of like working through whatever else I've not seen of his. Like he's got an early film about what's it called? I can't remember, but Dick Miller's in it because Dick Miller's in everything he ever made. But it's a movie that he did before even Piranha, I think, or maybe it's just after Piranha. It's about an actress who is like roped into like movies. It's kind of like a horror movie. So because he did some horror movies early on, and then he kind of like went away from that and did more what I really know him for. Mm-hmm. But I'm down to check out more of his stuff because I love. And you give shit to Explorers, but that is the movie that made me fall in love with Joe Dante. So.
Well, I mean, I also when we watched that movie, I was like, oh my god, I remember watching this as a kid, and I couldn't remember what the movie was, but just like parts of it were just burned in my memory. So
yeah,
when we watched it again, I'm like, I'm so glad I know what this movie was that's been bothering me for a long time. But yeah, I'd be happy to check this one out again because it like I know I've seen it. It's probably another Explorer situation where it was just something that played on TV and I caught it when I was a kid, and it's parts of it are in my brain, but I would like to actually sit down and watch a good, fun movie about, especially a movie about like, drive-in B-movie things. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, it's not a sci-fi or a horror movie, but it's kind of adjacent to them, and if you like those, you'll get something out of it because it's sort of like using them and talking about why people love them and having fun with it. So there's a lot to enjoy in it. The only other actor in it I recognise was Catherine Moriarty, who is the villain in Casper, and she's also the mum in Kindergarten Cop who tries to seduce Arnold very briefly. Like she's only on like 2 scenes, but she comes in and gets all. I think she's like Adam's mum in that movie.
Yeah.
And she comes in, she's got like a really shiny. It's not even like a latex jacket. I don't even know what you call it, but it's this very late 80s, early 90s, like the shiny jacket she's wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like she's the actress in the fake movie. Actually, that was there was one more actor. Out of nowhere, one of the things he sees at the theater has like a super young Naomi Watts in it. I couldn't believe I didn't even realize she was acting yet in 1993. I was like, is that Naomi Watts? I never actually checked, but it was her. Like I knew it was her. So
yeah. Like the Ring was like 10 years later or something.
Yeah, that was 2002. Yeah, so like Mulholland Drive was 2001, and I'm assuming she did some stuff before that, but like I don't know anything really from before that. So it was a surprise seeing her in this small role. But cool. All right,
I'll check it out.
What you got first?
So I had a movie on my watch list. It was recommended to me by my friend because we were talking about Donald Pleasance, and they're like, my favorite. They said my favorite Donald Pleasance performance and movie is a movie called Wake in Fright by Ted Kotcheff. He's the director of First Blood.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know if you've heard of it. It's on Shudder. Apparently, it was a movie that was lost for a long time. But came back in like the early 2000s. They finally got a print of it with like sound and everything and made it available. But it's very, very good. It's a very, very good movie. Like, and Donald Pleasance like definitely like shines as just like, wow, he's a really good actor. But I will say there's like a hunting scene in it where it takes place in Australia, and like they do actually use footage of people,
Real animals.
real kangaroo. They go on like a hunt at one point, and they're all drunk, and they're in this like truck, and they're driving around, or car, and they're driving around with the sunroof open, shooting at kangaroo. There's an implication that one gets run over. You watch it, like you watch everything that's happening to these kangaroos, and because of that, like I can't give it a high rating. It's really hard for me to like give it any kind of rating. If it didn't have that, or like if it had this scene but it wasn't with real animals, like yeah, it would be, you know, like a 9. Like it's really great. But honestly, like watching that stuff brought me to tears, and I've seen a lot of like slaughterhouse footage and stuff, and you know, just to remind myself of the world that we live in. But it was just really, really tough to watch. But aside from that, I will say that I definitely recommend the movie. It's about a man who's a school teacher in a very small town. I don't even know if there is a town. It has a name, and it has a train station, and it has a schoolhouse because he's a teacher. That's basically all we see. The rest is just that Australian Badlands desert. And he has a mission to get to Sydney because he has a girl that's there that he's in love with. And he gets to the train station that is going to take him, the train station in the next like big town that he will take a flight to Sydney from. He gets there, and he goes to a bar, and he's greeted by the sheriff, and the sheriff insists on buying him a beer. And, you know, it's the sheriff of this town who doesn't want to like say no, so he just drinks. And he's like, "You're out of beer, let me get you another pint." And the guy's like, nah. He's like, "Well, I'm going to get you another pint. We're going to keep drinking. We're socializing. You're not going to say no." He's like, all right. So they keep drinking, and then he gets to another bar, and then another bar, and you can see him like his mood is improving. And at first he keeps meeting these people who are like he just doesn't like, because they're just kind of scummy, gross people. He runs into Donald Pleasance when he's like at a diner, and he's talking to Pleasance about the town that they're in. Like, man, everyone's like super friendly, but like too friendly. Like they keep insisting that I drink. And he's like, yeah, they all love this town, but you know, something about like demons also love hell or something like that. And kind of like puts him off, and he immediately doesn't like Donald Pleasance. But then like as the night goes further, they end up in like a gambling thing, and it doesn't look like much. It's like they got 2 coins of some type, and they call heads or tails, and there's like 100 people all betting on heads or tails, and it doesn't seem like that much. But the guy's drunk at this point, and he starts betting, and he makes like all this money, grabs it, goes to his hotel, runs away, and all of a sudden he's like, wait, I've got almost enough money to like pay something off. I know I'm going through a lot of the movie, but this is really the setup. Like, I have something to like pay something off. I just have to go back and win one more time, and I'm free, basically. And so he goes back, and you can imagine how things go. And it's just a progression of like this downward spiral of his life, just by ending up in this small town that is literally his like personal hell. Like, it's full of people that he hates, but he's slowly like becoming them just because people keep insisting. It's like a movie about peer pressure and like the dangers of nice people. It's odd to explain, but it's actually it's really, really good, and I definitely recommend it. But the hunting scene is tough to watch, and you know, there's a disclaimer before and after about that you can expect it, and I really wasn't expecting so much cruelty, but there's a lot of it there. So if you have the stomach for it, I do recommend the film.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard of that. I wasn't even sure what genre it was until you kind of explained what the movie is.
Yeah, it is available on Shudder.
Yeah, it sounds kind of horror.
It is definitely this man's personal hell. This town.
Alright, cool. Well, where will I go next? I'll go with the recent-ish movie that I watched. I watched The Beta Test, which is...
I really, really want to watch this movie.
Yeah, Jim Cummings' newest movie. Although he's got a co-writer and co-director on this one. Who's I can't remember the other person's name off the top of my head. But, he did Wolf of Snow Hollow, and he did Thunder Road. He plays a very specific type of character, so he's a director-actor combo kind of guy. And he, in this, so I wasn't sure what the plot of this was. I'd kind of intentionally left it unknown
Can I ask,
to me.
Is he a cop?
He is not.
Wow.
Although he does pretend to be in like 2 scenes.
He can't help himself.
He's like he's an agent in Hollywood, or something. I can't remember the exact title of what he does, but he's not like an actor's agent. He's like an agent for like big like producers and things like that. And that's kind of what his job is. He's trying to like get these new clients as part of the plot, but that's not what the movie's about. The movie starts off much darker than anything else he's made. The opening scene, which I will not spoil or describe, is kind of like, oh, okay, all right, we're doing like different things with this one. And then we get to know him, and sort of like the plot of the movie is that he's engaged to someone, he's getting married soon, and he gets this purple envelope delivered to his mailbox, and it's an invitation that just says, "You've been invited to an anonymous sexual encounter in this hotel room. There's no strings attached. There's nothing else you have to do. But and then it's like sort of slowly like his temptation and like the idea that he wants to go do it, and then kind of just like him growing so paranoid and unraveling after he goes through with it. He starts to obsess with is he going to see this woman again? He starts to obsess with will someone find out? And I won't say any more than that, but it just keeps spiraling. And I will say, like, I had to think about the movie a little bit when it finished to just sort of really think about, like, what was this really about? Because some of it's a little bit is obvious, but I don't think it's as obvious as, like, Wolf of Snow Hollow. I felt when that movie ended, like everything hit and I got the point of everything it was doing. This one is like, oh, this is a bit more high concept. It's reaching a bit further, and it's talking about more complex modern things. But as per usual, his performance is really good. He does play a very similar type of character in a lot of ways, where he's like having scenes and he's getting agitated and he'll just start blurting out like more extreme like profanity, like randomly that freaks the people around him out. Like that's kind of something that's in all of these movies, and it's in here too. But it's still good. He's still very good at it. And it is very funny. As dark as it can be at times, it is also very funny at times. And sometimes it's the way he'll like rant for like 5 minutes, and then just the one like word or sentence response he gets from someone else is really funny. So I won't say anymore. I don't want to spoil anymore. But it is definitely an interesting film, and it's definitely one that's like you're not really sure where it's going to go and what it's going to do with its premise. But yeah, the beta test
sounds a little like Eyes Wide Shut, at least as far as like themes go of sex and marriage and
maybe,
temptation and paranoia and stuff like that.
Yeah, I will say some of the key themes are very heavily dealing with the idea of like maybe not social pressure, but like certainly networking is kind of a big theme of the movie, including like the use of the internet and like networking. So but I'll not say anything else. I don't want to spoil anywhere it goes or anything that it does.
Yeah, I mean the title is kind of interesting too. The beta, it's like, makes you think about what possibly the movie's dealing with as far as the theme goes.
It definitely implies that someone or some group is, prototyping
Monitoring.
something. Yeah, whatever it may be. So. But yeah, that's the beta test. I would say if you liked his previous films, it's definitely worth watching. You'll definitely get something out of it, at least on the performance and like the character arc levels and all that.
I really like his movies. I think I've seen all of them. He doesn't have that many.
No, this is only his third, I think. Unless there's one that I don't know about. But.
Oh yeah, I guess Thunder Road had like a short and then it became a movie.
Yeah, but it's in the movie though. Like, because it's the opening, like...
Yeah, they redid it in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I don't actually know if they reshot it or if they just used it, but it's the opening, like, 10 minutes of that movie was a short film originally.
Yeah.
Whether that was, like, literally the same footage or they reshot it for the movie to, like, just, make it match everything else, I don't know, but...
One of the best opening scenes, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's just him speaking at a funeral, and it's just this descent into madness as he keeps talking.
Yeah, and it's
great.
supposed to be, he's in his uniform, and, like, he's a cop, obviously. And, he's supposed to be mourning for his, I think it's his mother or something who's died, and, like, you can tell he wants to say something, moving, but he just can't help but just go into this tangent about other stuff, and all of a sudden it becomes this really dark comedy in the first, like, 10 minutes. It's great. It's a great opening.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this out. Is it just available to rent now?
It's on Hulu, so...
Oh, okay.
So if you got Hulu, you can check it out. Otherwise, it is rentable. Everybody else.
I think if you leave a review that's positive on Letterboxd, he'll like it, because he just likes. I follow him on Letterboxd, and he just likes everybody who reviews his movie. I don't know if he likes the ones who review it negatively, or maybe there just aren't any negative reviews.
I mean, it's very good. I think what I'll say about his films, on top of just being very engaging and funny, and like. They're always like doing a character arc, and they're always saying something about the character and the way that he's acting, even if if he's coming off as like a weirdo or acting like an asshole. There's always something to. I hope
so, because that's what I enjoy watching.
Yeah, you always it's always like what is it saying about the character that he's doing this right now, this obsession that he's got, and although he's also a recovering alcoholic in this movie though, which is also something he is, and at least Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Well. Yeah, Thunder Road, I think, also a little bit.
So he's not in law enforcement.
Does he have a strained relationship with his daughter in this?
No kids in this one.
Okay, all right.
No kids.
But there is still some through line here.
Yes.
Well, maybe he knows his limitations as an actor. He's like, look, I got at least one thing down, so I got to include it in some way.
Sure. But it was good. It was a very fascinating film. So, okay, what you got next?
I actually revisited a movie that I hadn't seen since the theaters, and it's Death Proof. It's a Tarantino film I only watched once, and I watched it with the double feature when it came out in 2007. And I remember liking it. I definitely liked it more than the Rodriguez movie, Planet Terror. Because it's Tarantino, so like you can't avoid it. But I don't remember thinking like, oh, I need to watch that again one day. When I left the theater. I remember thinking like, yeah, it was definitely Tarantino and it was good, but I don't know if it's like one that I'll revisit. But I gotta say, I really liked it. Like, I liked it so much more this time. And sometimes that happens. Like, when I left the theater after seeing The Hateful Eight, that movie just sort of festered and grew, and like every time I watched it, like I liked it more and more, and that's like one of my top 10 movies. Like, I love The Hateful Eight so much. And same with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I had that same thing happen to me where I was just like, yeah, it's good, and it was Tarantino. It was fun to see something new and creative and his voice again, but not my favorite. But actually, no, dang it, if that movie hasn't grown on me as well. Like, I love that film. That movie's fantastic. And I do think that Death Proof is still like lower tier Tarantino, but it's still good. It's still really good.
It's probably at the bottom of the list. If you ranked all of his movies, it's probably last.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, some movies like I'm just kind of over. Like, I'm over Pulp Fiction. I'm over Reservoir Dogs, and those feel a bit more like they're fantastic films. And if they're anybody's favorite, it makes complete sense, especially Pulp Fiction. But like, Death Proof is still really good, so I wouldn't discount it just because it's at the bottom of the Tarantino list. Like, his bottom is still like above most other directors, So like, and it was just fun watching.
So was this
Kurt Russell?
Was this the first time you'd seen like the longer version of it then? Because when it's on its own, it's a longer cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
If that's the case, yes. Although nothing really looked new to me, but
I don't think it's a ton of stuff, but it is definitely a bit longer. The solo version of it.
I will say there's a character in the beginning, who she's like the DJ with the long hair, Jungle Julie, I think is the character's name. Her dialogue goes on very, very long, and it's very Tarantino. It is very much like she's, waxing poetic for a long time in his voice. And sometimes that can be a little bit like, okay, I'm ready to like watch her die. But other than that, like, the movie's really good. The suspense is good. I love all the gimmicks to make it feel like a 70s movie, and in my memory, it did take place in the 70s, but it doesn't. It takes place when the movie came out, which is 2007. Like, people have cell phones, they're texting each other, stuff like that. But in my memory of it, it was meant to be a 70s movie, but it's just shot in that gritty grindhouse with the lines going across the screen, weird editing where it's like dialogue will repeat.
not quite the exact same thing, but it's kind of like The Love Witch, and it looks
yes,
really
exactly. I thought of that when I was watching it.
But it's actually just set present day when it was made.
Yeah, and it was really fun to revisit it after, like, I've seen so many more movies since then, and I have such an appreciation for that time period, like, that he's trying to simulate the feeling of, which is the 70s, and in film, and that independent grindhouse, straight to the drive-in kind of film, that I just had a really good time watching it. And, I recognize so many more people from it now than I did the first time. Rosario Dawson's like, I'm going to say she's like a superstar or anything, but, it was great to see her in this too. And Zoe Bell, I know a lot better now. And she has a major role in this. I love that in the opening credits it says, and Zoe Bell as herself, because she is just a stunt woman and she plays a stunt woman. I love the dynamic of like of Kurt Russell's character as Stuntman Bill. I think his name is Stuntman Bill. And he.
I feel like I would have guessed Stuntman Mike, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Maybe it is Stuntman Mike. I didn't watch it that long ago, but like.
For some reason,
it's Stuntman Mike.
Yeah, for some reason, Mike's just in my brain. So yeah.
Stuntman Mike. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with it. It was like, even his like, bottom tier movie is still really good, actually.
Yeah, I would say it's his bottom movie, but it is still really enjoyable to watch, and the performances are still fun. There's still tension. It still feels ultra cool, and all the things usually associate with Tarantino. Yeah, so that's cool.
That was a fun revisit.
Yeah. I watched so another director that I sort of picked one off of that I'd not gotten to yet. I watched a Scorsese film that I hadn't seen, and I watched The Aviator, which was a bit daunting because it's just under 3 hours long, which is always a bit of an ask. And Leonardo DiCaprio, and this was kind of when he was becoming this big, sort of like gunning for that Oscar. It took him another like 15 years to get it, but like this is when he sort of really started gunning for his Oscars.
Movie, but that's okay.
That's fair. Yeah, Tom Hardy was better in The Revenant than he was. I will absolutely. I will say it. And I do have this thing with Leo where I think he's likable enough on screen, and he does feel like a movie star, but he also feels like one of those actors where I can never just not look at him and think he's Leonardo DiCaprio trying to act. Or, well, not trying to, that's a bit harsh, but...
That's what, honestly, I know, I'll let you keep going, but, like, I think that's what makes Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so brilliant, is that he does kind of play a struggling has-been actor.
Oh, sure, yeah,
just trying to be taken seriously
There's
again.
There's a meta quality to it, yeah.
That is definitely his best performance. Like, if he were going to get an Oscar for anything, and maybe you could say, well, Brad Pitt was better in it, but, like, no, Brad Pitt's playing a completely different character, and, like, and he definitely deserved his Oscar for that, but, like, Leo is so good in that movie. And so quotable, and, like, his improv of, like, yelling at himself and stuff and tearing himself down, it's so good. Anyway, yeah.
So it's it's about Howard Hawks. It's about
Hughes.
Hughes. Who am I thinking of? Who's Howard Hawks?
I don't know.
I'm getting that from somewhere. Yeah, it's about Howard Hughes, who is this notorious guy who was obviously an aviator, but he also made movies. In fact, the movie starts with him like early in the production of his ridiculous war film, which everyone's like yelling at him for spending tons of his like family fortune on, and he like he finishes the film after like 3 years of shooting. It takes ages because he's doing all this real stunt work in real planes, which, you know, towards the end of the 20s, the idea that they're using real planes and stunts in movies is ridiculous. You know, so, and then just as that happens, he sees that the first ever, you know, talking film comes out, the first talkie, the jazz singer comes out, and he's like, we need to do the whole thing again. This is the future. We need talking. We need audio. So he reshoots the whole thing for talking.
Yeah, he's a little eccentric.
Yeah, and this is after he's already, you know, spent millions of his family's money on it, and he's going to do it again. And John C. Reilly is the guy that he hires to sort of like take care of him, look after his money. And like he's just like, you know, his eyes are bulging out of his head when he just suddenly says this to him. He's like, what? And that just kind of starts the trip of the film and what it is going through. And we sort of go through about a 20 or so year period. And most of it's pretty interesting. You know, I like the film history side of it. I like kind of like learning a little bit about how, oh, this is when cross-country flights started happening, or this is when, you know, transatlantic flights started happening, and there was kind of a battle where one company almost had a monopoly in that, and like Hughes had to like fight it tooth and nail to make sure that this bill didn't go through, you know, the Senate or whatever to like stop it. And like so it was all that stuff was really interesting from a history point of view because I didn't really know a lot of it. For me, as a movie, what I enjoyed about it was obviously the performance is solid and all the rest of it. It is a bit weird that he stays kind of looking the same age for like 25 years, but you know, that's whatever, it's a movie. I would say that the big thing about it is that Hughes, as life goes on, he does like suffer from some things. He suffers from OCD. He starts to lose his hearing quite heavily as he gets older. And once he started playing with his paranoia and like his OCD and how like that started to affect his life and how the people around him had to deal with that, I thought it was like, I'm very like hit and miss with biopics because I kind of feel like sometimes it is just this checklist of going through the important stuff. And this doesn't actually go all the way up to his death. It actually stops a fair bit earlier than that. It kind of like builds a story around him stopping this bill going through. There's a kind of a hearing towards the end of the film, which I don't think is much of a spoiler. It's a weird movie because it's like it's based in truth, so it's like,
yeah,
you know. So I won't get too specific, but that was where it got really engaging from a plot perspective. Was when it kind of felt like there was like characters who were working against them, so they almost became villains, and it was like really. It was that kind of Chernobyl style of villain where this was based on real people making shitty decisions because of their pocketbook, you know, like, and you get kind of mad at them for that. And Hughes in the film and Leo's performance, he's very much this, you know what, I'm not going to put up with this shit. I'm just going to like call them out on all their BS, and it's really satisfying when he does things like that. But he is also kind of addicted to people around him, you know, all of his relationships are kind of doomed because he's so eccentric and weird, and he starts focusing on all these little details and like how much it's bothering him that someone wants to shake his hand or whatever. So yes. So it's a film about an eccentric dude who burns through a shit ton of money, but he also advances like, you know, aviation like insurmountably in his time. His movies are kind of not even that important really in the grand scheme of things. That was like a hobby.
I know he liked Jane Mansfield a lot, and he always was sure to get her boobs in the poster and in the movie as much as possible.
Yeah, there's a great scene where he goes to the MPA because they're mad about his new film, which is very erotic. And the way they put it is there's too many mammaries, you know. And he gets Ian Holm to come in and try and just like argue, and he gets like photos of all these different movies that are all just close-ups of cleavages from like 6 or 7 other movies that are all really popular. It says, explain to me how these mammaries are okay but the ones in my movie are not. And you know, well,
Jane Mansfield had some pretty impressive mammaries.
I think I've said mammaries more in the last 30 seconds than I have in my entire life, honestly.
I think I said memories after I watched The Aviator years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to use that term.
I think there's a sense of humor that's there in the film, which I think is really good for it, because I think otherwise it could be really dry. And I think that's... And
you got to have that with Leo.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of humor in there. Otherwise, he just comes off as try hard.
That's true. He does. Like, and you know, I like The Revenant. I think Revenant's a really good movie, but he does come off a bit try hard in that. He's like, I'm acting.
Does, definitely.
I'm an actor. I'm getting that Oscar, damn it.
He is acting like he's from like the 1700s or wherever it takes place. Tom Hardy, you believe that he lives that world.
Yeah, Tom Hardy walks on the street, and he is from the 1700s.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, but it was enjoyable Scorsese film. You know, I've got a couple of Scorsese films that I do think are kind of duds. You know, I hate Shutter Island. I really don't like The Departed that much, and part of that's because I've seen the original film and think it's superior. But
I like The Departed.
But he mostly makes good movies, right? At least, and there's some movies that he's made that are, you know, fantastic. And my opinion on which ones are fantastic don't necessarily align with the popular consensus. I love Taxi Driver, which everyone does love, but my second favorite Scorsese film is Hugo, and that no one ever else says that. But I'll die in the hell.
My French teacher would agree with you. My old French professor.
I was going to say, well, you got his French.
But she also taught French cinema.
Well, that's the interesting thing is when this movie was starting, I was getting a little bit of that Hugo magic, because one of the things that I loved about Hugo is it's a really enjoyable film about this kid and his adventure, but ultimately that film, and I won't spoil it because it does go places that it doesn't really hint at. It was a total surprise when I saw it, but it does become a bit of love of classic cinema and kind of the origins of cinema. And when it started off with the Hughes making his movie, I was kind of like, I'm getting a little bit of like Scorsese's love of like cinema here and like wanting to explore some of this stuff again.
Yeah. It's a little bit like he wanted to make his own version of Citizen Kane too, of just like following this mogul, you know, of and following him through his life. But a little bit more gritty, probably. And with a lot more jars of piss.
Yes. I can objectively say, out of the movies I've seen with jars of piss, which is this and Batman v Superman, this is definitely the better movie.
I also remember Cate Blanchett being really good. She is in this, right? Is she in
She is, and she's rocking a very specific accent the whole time.
Yeah, she's very Katharine Hepburn.
Kate Beckinsale's got a relatively small role. Hepburn? Adam Scott's got a small role. Jude Law's got a surprisingly small role, I thought, because he was already a kind of a bigger actor by this point. So
yeah.
But he's got a full. It's basically a cameo, to be honest. He's only
probably
a couple
just
scenes.
like, oh, sure, I'll be in a Scorsese film.
Yeah. What's his face? Alec Baldwin. He's in there for a bit. A lot of faces. There's a lot of faces in it that you recognize.
I haven't seen this since the theater, but I do remember it was very impressionable on me when it came out. And yes, I definitely used the term memory to refer to boob for a little while after I saw it.
I think at one point he yells, "Who doesn't love memories?" or something like that. Yeah, okay. But yeah, that's The Aviator. It was good. Cool. How much have you watched it? Probably not a lot because it's 3 hours long, but that's just, that's how it rolls. All right, what you got next?
What do I want to talk about next? I rewatched a movie from the 90s, from 1993. I was going to watch Prey when the day came out, but I had a long work day and it was Friday, and I thought, I just want to watch something dumb. So I watched Needful Things, which has Ed Harris and Max von Sydow in it, and it's a Stephen King adaptation. I believe it went straight to TV, but
I don't know this at all. But I like the pair of actors you just threw at me. So
yeah, so it's one of those like small town Maine, Castle Rock, even I think.
Probably, yeah, Stephen King.
And Max von Sydow is a store owner. He comes to town, opens up a store called Needful Things, and wouldn't you know it, anything that you really truly desire, he has on display when you walk in. And each item, of course, comes with a clause that you have to sign. And Max von Sydow might be the devil. Ed Harris plays the sheriff who's, dealing with all the consequences of the people who visit the store. And it was just really fun to, I love the 90s Stephen King movies, especially like the straight to television ones. And I just think they're so of that time, where everybody was trying to make their big Stephen King hit. and he has, there are the tropes, they're always going to be there. Yeah, the endings are meh, and the characters are like kind of predictable. There's always like one where I think Stephen King just writes himself into all of his films. So, and they're always the most clever and the ones that are figuring things out. But yeah, like I said, those two actors are they're such powerhouses, and it was really fun to revisit. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but like for some reason Shudder has, I think all of the made-for-TV Stephen King's on their app right now. So
well, they're probably all from the same company, and they probably got a deal. They're like, give us these 10 for whatever price.
And I was really excited to see it on there. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this. I am really excited for Prey, but I just want to watch something really dumb that I don't have to think about, and it delivers on that, and it's got good actors, and it's good. I still recommend it, even though it's not a great movie.
Okay. I haven't heard of it, so I have nothing to add.
Really?
So, yeah, I really haven't. So, but I do like Ed Harris. I like Ed Harris a lot, but I don't see him in enough things. So,
yeah, he is like when he shows up, you're like, all right, we got somebody good. Someone who's gonna. So he's kind of like a Robert Duvall. He just shows up, and you're like, well, I know at least I'm going to get enjoyment out of watching whatever he's going to bring to this. And same with Max von Sydow, because like he's a caricature. So if he's playing like this nice old man who's secretly the devil, then like you're going to have fun with that too.
Yeah, Ed Harris also has a very similar hairline to Robert Duvall.
Maybe that's why I think about them. We also just watched that Twilight Zone with Robert Duvall in it. So, but I do think that. Yeah, I think it's worth watching, and it may not be my favorite. Like I like The Langoliers a bit more, even though it is probably a worse movie. It definitely has far worse special effects.
Yes, The Langoliers, a movie that Tara's been trying to get me to do on Ace for quite some time.
I wonder if it's a bonus episode or not, because it is like pretty well known because of just how bad the special effects are.
Yeah, it's also like a 3 or 4 hour TV miniseries technically, so.
Yeah, it's a 2-parter television event.
Much like It, the original It.
Yes, yeah.
Which I assume we'll probably do in streams someday, so maybe I shouldn't shoot down The Langoliers.
That'd be a nice little like double thing to pair them up at the same time.
Logistics.
Well, I don't know.
I could try. I could try and make that magic happen. I'm not making it.
We do schedule things out, so.
True. Yeah, but every so often Tim will say, we have to push everything back because I've thought of this thing we need to do it right now.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we can just watch it whenever then.
He's like, the Orphan prequel script, we have to do Orphan. Which is just
that sounds like a good movie.
Alright, well, you just wrapped up something, I think.
Needful Things.
You wrapped up Needful Things? Okay. So I will then talk about what I'll talk about next. So I'll talk about one that you recommended to me that I watched this month, and that is Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
Which I watched for the first time, starring John Travolta, with the same director as Rocky, which not only was there a clue because he's got a Rocky poster in his bedroom in the movie, which by the way, in Matinee, there's a poster for The Day the Earth Caught Fire, which is such a deep cut that I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's
awesome. It.
That's a really good movie.
Fantastic movie. But I could tell by the tone and the way it was directed, it felt very much like Rocky. I felt like a Rocky movie, just that it happened to be the main character was... he's different from Rocky because Rocky's this really nice, naive guy who kind of makes things better for those around him, whereas John Travolta's character in Saturday Night Fever is kind of a little shithead, and his friends are all shitheads, and it's very much this dark coming-of-age thing where he gets a little better by the end, but even right before the end, he still says some pretty crummy things. Like I would actually warn people before you watch this. There is a lot of racist language. There's a lot of like dated things early on that you need to be aware of going in. But once you do get into it, it's kind of an interesting character study of a movie because everything's kind of showing like how he views the world, his place in it. Because basically, there's people keep telling him maybe you should want more than just living in this one small part of like New York, and maybe want to go somewhere else and make something more of yourself. And so much of the movie's about like all these things where he sees this dance competition as a big deal. It's kind of the only thing he cares about, and he's kind of challenged by this dance partner he gets who has bigger aspirations. And that's kind of the main arc of the film, is that maybe by the end he's going to actually see that, oh, there is more out there. I should, aspire to be something better than this. And you see his home life a little bit and how his parents treat him, and his brother is like a priest and stuff like that. And there's all these other things that come into it. And then yes, you've got the famous dance sequence, which is relatively early on. I think one of the funny things about the movie is that the fancy white suit that he gets, that everyone remembers him wearing from this movie typically, is not what he actually wears in the famous dance scene. They're separate things in the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mainly, funny enough, the main thing I knew about this movie is because the opening of a 1990s comedy starring Daniel Stern called Bushwhacked parodies the opening, because it starts with Staying Alive.
Is he like walking with paint cans?
He's walking down the street. He's not got paint cans, but he does stop and get food, just like Travolta does, except in Bushwhacked he gets like, Travolta gets pizza, so it's not that healthy, but in Bushwhacked he gets like these like candy ball things, and he gets like marshmallows, and he's like drinking this big milkshake that like, it's really like ridiculous. But yeah, it was really funny seeing the real version of that scene after having seen that a few times as a kid.
That's cool. I'm really glad you watched it. I mean, not only is it like a movie you should watch because you're a fan of le cinema, so you should probably watch the big ones. I know this is like Gene Siskel's favorite film of all time, and I think he actually owned the suit, like he bought it at an auction and stuff, from Siskel and Ebert. But this was like one of those movies where you have an idea of what it is because of all the parodies that have happened from it. So you think like, oh, it's just a dumb movie about disco and a guy who dances really well, and like it's maybe like an early break-in film, or like an early whatever, like Dirty Dancing or dance movie that have come out, so that's what you think it is. But it's really, yeah, it's like this dark coming of age story, really dark coming of age story that is not fun at all. Yeah, no.
Not only are all the main characters very racist, like constantly, like the way they talk about women and treat women is,
yes, it's also a very sexist, like, yeah. Well, their perspective of it.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't say the movie's sexist, because it's clear, the whole point of the film is that by the end, like, he's supposed to realize, like, and grow up a little bit, but it is very, like, the way he talks to people, the way he just writes people off is very dismissive, and like, you're constantly kind of like analyzing, and the reason why you feel so challenged by this new dance partner is because when she points out certain things and says, maybe you should think about this, you should think about trying this, and like maybe doing these other things, he gets so defensive, because it's like she's hit a nerve that he's really trying his best to avoid ever addressing.
Yeah, he does. He refuses to like move on and like aspire to something better. Like even his friends, he has his relationship with this one guy who really looks up to him, and he's begging him for help. And Travolta keeps making a joke out of the situation, and leads to terrible consequences. And it's just one of those things where you're like, this movie like does not hold back on like just how awful someone can be to somebody else, and it's just not the movie that you expect at all from like all the parodies and all the even the trailers. And like I owned the soundtrack for many years before I saw the movie, because like I liked the Bee Gees and I liked the disco dancing. So that's what I thought I was going to watch, and I watched this pretty young, I'd say early teens. We had like a bunch of different movie channels, and one of them was Stars growing up, and Stars would do this thing where they would have like 3 or 4 movies, and for the whole week they would just repeat those same movies in order. Yeah. And you would just like, if you liked a movie, you can watch it again tomorrow. And if it's summer, then you're off and you just want to watch something. Like I must have watched Saturday Night Fever like every single day that it was on for like that 1 week period. And I just was so invested, and like it just got hooks in me.
Yeah. it's also it's got like I know it's getting darkly funny in a way, but like there's a big Joe Bluth moment later on in the film where all I could think was I've made a huge mistake. I'll just say it involves a retaliation attack on like a group of people that turns out to maybe have been aimed in the wrong direction, and it really made me laugh when it kind of comes up. But yeah, I thought the ending was subdued but somewhat powerful. I don't know if I'm totally in love with the movie after this first watch, but it's the sort of thing where I could see it being even better on a second watch because I'm sort of like knowing where it's going and sort of looking at the seeds and how it's planted throughout.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you watched it because I think everyone should give it a chance because I think a lot of people kind of write it off as a movie that it's not.
Yeah, it's that thing where it's like the poster's him doing the pose and the glitter, the glitter balls up. Yeah,
I always think of. Have you seen Hot Shots? No, not Hot Shots. Airplane.
I've seen Airplane. Yes.
Yeah, you've seen Airplane. The spoof is an airplane, and like that's what you think of. You see the poster, you think of Murdoch. I think his name is in Airplane.
And he starts doing that thing where he's got more arms or legs than he should when he's doing the moves or something like that. Yeah.
He comes onto the dance stage and he boing off the trampoline.
Because there's that dance move where Travolta's. It's like he's sitting down and he's like kicking it one leg at a time or something like that. Don't an airplane does it start kicking out both legs at one point as if he's floating?
Yes.
I'm sure that's a moment.
Yeah, also Airplane is worth watching.
Airplane is somewhat.
It's definitely top like 10 comedies of all time. So yeah.
Maybe this is. I don't know if it's a hot take. I prefer Naked Gun, but I don't know if that's like a hot take or if that's like a 50-50 split amongst people. I would
also put that in my top 10 of all time for comedies. So.
For comedies, not just in general.
No, for comedies for sure.
Got a lot to talk about. All right, so that's Saturday Night Fever. Interesting watch. It was one of those sort of classic things that's on a lot of best of lists that I'd never gotten around to. And I think my goal when I'm picking movies to sort of make a point of watching for this, I always want to hit at least one recent movie that's on my to-do list and one classic that I've not seen that's been on my to-do list for a long time. I think that's always kind of something I want to try and do, and then just whatever else. Everything.
I guess I could talk about a recent one, but I'm not all that into it.
You can talk about a movie you like.
I mean, yeah, I did go to the movies. I was forced to see this one by my mother. I went and saw Where the Crawdads Sing, which I think is a Reese Witherspoon movie. I think she's been promoting it. I think maybe she produced it or something.
That's why you told me you went to see this, but even as you say this title again, I'm still going, huh? What? What's this?
It's got the girl who was in Fresh, Daisy Edgar Jones. She's good in it for sure. But yeah, it's just like takes place, I want to say, in the 50s. She plays a girl who's known as the Marsh Girl. She lives in like swamps, I think in North Carolina or South Carolina, probably South Carolina. And she has this unfortunate backstory of like living in a small house off grid in the swamps, and like her dad is abusive and beats her mom and her kid and her siblings and stuff like that when he drinks. And so the mom just up and leaves one day, and then slowly as like the children get a little bit older, they all leave as soon as possible to get out of there, and it's just her and her dad at one point, and then like he just disappears without a trace, and she's left to fend for herself as a small child. This is all like the backstory. And live off the land in the marsh. She tries to go to school at one point, but like doesn't have shoes, and kids make fun of her, and immediately just is a self-taught naturalist. And as she grows up, she becomes Daisy Edgar Jones, who is not a bad-looking woman. So like more men start to notice her. And I'll just say that it is based off of a book, and you can definitely tell. The movie plays like you're reading a slow burn book, and it's not a bad movie. I mean, I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it is like, it goes by the numbers, and it's not terrible. The acting is good in it. It's just kind of predictable and a lot of stereotype for characters, and you know exactly people just say the right things or the wrong things in a very cliche way. But it's not horrible. It's just fine. It's fine. David Stratham, is that his name? He's in it. Stratham.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. He used to be in this movie I watched a lot when I was a kid, called Lost in Yonkers, I think was the name of it, and he was always like a standout from that. Him and Mercedes Rule were in that movie.
I only discovered David Stratham because of The Expanse, so he's a fairly recent discovery for me. But
I'm sure he's been that guy for a little while. I mean, he kind of shows up. He's been acting. Oh yeah, for a long time.
I watched the movie probably around December time called Sneakers. It's a Robert Redford movie from the early 90s, I think. And it's got a pretty all-star cast, but he's like one of the group of characters. It's like a group of like hackers / like thieves who are going to steal. It's a really sort of fun, light-hearted thriller. It sounds
familiar, actually. Yeah.
But yeah, he was in that, and it was like, oh, that's cool to see him sort of much younger, because I knew him as the old man character on The Expanse, and he popped up in a movie. He popped up in, what was it, Fast Color? He popped up in. We did that early on in the show.
Yeah. So, that was a boring movie.
yeah, it was a pretty dull movie, but hey ho. All right, cool. Next up, I watched a movie that I never really heard of. It was just kind of recommended. It was one I watched on stream, but it's I got a very strong recommendation for Wonder Boys, which is a movie from 2000 starring Michael Douglas. It also has.
Is he a writer?
He's like a writing. Yeah, he's a writer, but he's also like a professor at a university as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've seen this.
And Tobey Maguire's like his star pupil, but he's kind of like a weird pupil, and it kind of like. It starts off like it reveals that he's having an affair with he's not married, but the woman is. Like Frances McDormand plays like some official at the university. She's like the coordinator for like his department or something like that. And he brings, I almost said Peter Parker, he brings in Tobey Maguire to this like house party.
We would know who you're talking about.
And he ends up like shooting this like couple's dog in like a weird moment, because the dog keeps going after Michael Douglas. And it kind of starts. It's all set over like one weekend, and Robert Downey Jr. is in there as well. He's like this. He's his agent. And he's meant to be like working on this new book. He had this big successful book about 7 years ago, but he's not written anything since. And everyone's starting to think he's got writer's block or he's lost it or whatever. And like the comical like size of this book he's writing, when he's on like page 3000 when we see him like writing the next time. But the movie's kind of him looking out for this Tobey Maguire character over the course of this weekend, and it's kind of about it's kind of this like learning to love his passion again kind of movie, but it's also this thing where he's very really sober. He's either on booze or drugs like almost all the time, and it's kind of about him sort of coming to accept that he's got a problem. Katie Holmes is in there. She's like his teacher's aide who's got the hots for him and tries to seduce him like once or twice, which and this is when she's like 22 or something like that in real life.
Yeah, so. But like teacher-student relationships can like, when you're a young person and you're around this man that you respect, but is not your father. I mean, crushes can happen a lot,
Yeah, but he also rents a room out to her. She stays in the same house with him.
Yeah.
See?
I mean, they're both adults, but still.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's like some twists and turns about Toby's character, because he says a lot of things that kind of turn out to maybe be lies, and it's kind of about discovering who he is. But it's mostly about Michael Douglas sort of like overcoming his like demons, as it were, and it's got like a constant. I describe it as a sort of drama comedy, because I'd say it's drama first, but there is a lot of lightheartedness to it. There's a lot of like kind of almost indie movie-esque like kind of meaningful moments that happen. I would describe it, because there's one I'm thinking of, but it's quite late on, so it's probably a bit of a spoiler. But Alan Tudyk's got a small role, another Firefly cast member. I'm always happy to see a Firefly alumni in something.
Everybody likes Alan Tudyk.
Yeah, there's a lot of faces in it, for sure. I never really heard of this movie, and it was recommended me on streaming. I just yeah, sure, why not, let's watch this tonight.
I want to say it was like a 90s Oscar Beatty film also, and I watched everything that came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like especially if it was like an Oscar darling.
Well, almost. It was the year 2000 that came out.
Oh, okay.
So
I guess that makes sense with Tobey Maguire.
You're just off a smidge. Yeah, this is 2 years
feels like
before
a 90s
Spider-Man.
thing.
Well, it was written in the 90s, presumably. They would have written it and shot it in the 90s, but it's you always get that at the transition, though, right? You always get a couple of movies in that the 0 and the 1 year of the new decade, but that's kind of still more like the previous decade as it's transitioning. But yeah, it's not a bad time. I didn't love it, but it's certainly a lot of good actors. Working with a pretty solid script. So yeah, it's not a bad time. All right, what you got next?
I would recommend Dead Poet Society over Wonder Boy.
I've heard of that one though. Like that one's definitely the bigger movie.
Yeah. And it's probably one on like the list of movies you have to watch.
And I'm pretty sure that's Peter Weir who directed that, who I know I like. So
yeah, Peter Weir is great.
Yes, Master and Commander. A little bit of behind the scenes here. Well, not behind the scenes, but just a joke that happened a couple months ago. See when Marvel did their announcements of like Phase 5 and 6, I saw a Photoshop of like because there was a lot of these memes going about where it'd be like, oh, here's the Frasier universe, and here's like the 5 Frasier shows that are coming, and it's like Frasier tossed salads, Frasier scrambled eggs, Frasier. But the one I sent to Tara, because I thought she'd get a kick out of it, and I felt bad because for a split second I think she thought it was real, was the Master and Commander franchise, because it's actually like based on a book series that's got like, you know...
there's so many books. I mean, there's not so many. There's probably like 18 books or something like that.
Yeah, so someone whipped up the logos that looked like the movie logo for all the book titles and put them on this.
I had about a 1 minute period where I'm like, God, I hope this is real. I'm just going to play along like it's real because I want it to be so bad. But I was skeptical.
And Peter Weir directed Master and Commander, which is why I thought of that there for just in case anyone's wondering why did that pop into his head.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a... I mean, obviously I really like Dead Poet Society, but it definitely, like, all my male friends who grew up with that, like, that movie spoke to a lot of them.
Interesting.
So it's definitely a boys' movie. As far as like coming of age kind of a thing. Yeah,
Truman Show was the movie that made me fall for Peter Weir's films.
Oh boy, yeah. When we revisited that for Ace, that was a really good watch. It was such a nice surprise because I remember obviously liking the movie a lot, but not a lot of people liked the movie as much as I did. So I thought, maybe going back to it,
I think
it wouldn't hold up as well.
There's two things there. I think one, obviously, you were probably pretty young when you saw it because it came out in 98
I was like 12 or 13 or something. Yeah.
So I think there's that. I think the people at the time generally were weirded out because they were expecting a Jim Carrey comedy because that's what he was known for at the time, and it wasn't that. It was something different.
I'm sure Liar Liar was like right before this or after this.
But like, it is such a great, like, thoughtful, like, smart movie that's talking about a lot of, it's like predetermining so many things in the world.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, that was the big revelation, was that not only did it hold up, but it aged so much better than expected.
Yeah. No, wonderful.
It's kind of ahead of its time, yeah.
Because I think I didn't like it as much when I saw it first, because I was like 10 when I saw it. Yeah, Ed Harris is in there. There's Ed Harris again. But I didn't like it that much when I first saw it either, because I was like 10 and I was expecting Ace Ventura, right? But when...
so there's some projection going on here.
When I saw around 16 or 17, later in my high school years, I was like, oh wait, this is really good. This is speaking to me now. And then, I watched it a couple of times over my early 20s, and, it got to the point where it was something I would actively champion and recommend to people. Anyway, what you got next?
All right, I'll talk about a movie called, well, there's two titles, and I watched it on Riff Tracks. It just kind of, it came on because the Pluto TV has like a Riff Tracks channel, so sometimes I'll just put that on as background.
I'm familiar.
And so I couldn't find it on Letterboxd because in the Riff Tracks movie it's called Mutant, but the Letterboxd has it as Night Shadows, and it stars Wings Hauser from Deadly Force, which is a movie that I made you find for me.
Yes, that's right. I recall.
It's kind of, it's one of those like the Blob style. I've seen like a few of these through Mystery Science Theater, not Mystery Science Theater, through Riff Tracks, where like there's a movie that someone will stick their finger in space goo, and it starts some sort of problem. And this one is
the inciting incident is finger in space goo. Yes,
it's just like something's here from space. Let me touch it, and then like something happens to that person, and it continues on and on and on, and it ends up being a bit of a zombie movie in a way. But I enjoy Wings Hauser a lot. He and his brother are like stuck in this town because Wings is very
Oh, I think I've seen this.
You have seen it, yeah. According to Letterboxd, you've seen it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know what it is now. I didn't realize that was Wings Hauser because I didn't know who that was when I watched it. But I knew you said brothers stuck in a town. I'm like, oh, yeah, Mutant. I remember this.
Yeah. It's it's kind of a zombie. It turns into a zombie or like a vampire thing. But it was definitely a fun watch. I enjoy Wings Hauser as this like B movie leading man because. He definitely wouldn't make it in as far as like a leading man in any like legit straight to theaters movie blockbuster. But like for some reason these B movies are trying to push him as like the star. And so it was just fun to watch like a Wings Hauser starring movie where he looks like John Lithgow with hair. Like big curly hair.
He's got a bit of a blank expression that he has in his face, though.
He's a bit of a mouth breather.
Yeah.
But he does have charisma. Like I do like watching him.
I think I may dispute that. I think he's lacking the charisma to be like that sort of B movie star I enjoy. I think that's what he's lacking. So I think I disagree on the charisma.
I don't know if he can pull off like one-liners kind of B-movie charisma, but there is something about him, and maybe it's just the name. He has like a really great name, Wings Hauser, where I'm just like expecting him to be big in his acting or something, but like he's not. He is, but he still has something about him. He's got, what it is? It's a David Hasselhoff syndrome, I think. Like you can tell that he knows that he deserves to be the lead in this. And that's what I enjoyed watching about the movie.
Okay.
The movie itself is fine. It's not good. It's not bad. It's fine. But like, it was just fun to watch a Wings Hauser starring film.
I remember it being fairly easy to watch, but nothing particularly memorable either. I don't remember thinking, oh, that was a great B movie.
Twists and turns in it, like, but it tries to be a lot of things, and luckily Wings is there to carry it because it kind of fails at a lot of it.
Carry it. Just air quotes there. Carry it.
Yeah. I think Hasselhoff is a good comparison for Wings. He made it in television. I think he might still be working. I'm not sure, but like he's done a lot of TV stuff. He's basically been a guest in every single show that's ever come out. But he can only have a leading role in these B movies.
Well, that sounds right. All right, my final movie then that I've got to talk about is another one that I've seen the poster of a lot. I've heard of it, but I'd never seen it. I didn't even know what the plot was, and I went in completely blind. Is Risky Business. From the early 80s.
Coming of age movie.
Another coming of age movie. Funny enough, the reason why I watched this on Saturday Night Fever is because on stream I give people a chance to pick a theme where I'll watch a couple of movies, and the theme that was picked was a movie with a dance scene. So I picked Saturday Night Fever, and then I was looking for another movie with a famous dance scene. I'm like, oh, Risky Business. Yes, I've seen like the clip of him sliding out in his underwear. There you go, that's a dance scene. So I watched Risky Business.
Movie, though. Yeah.
And this is kind of a wild watch because I had no idea what it was about. So when it started going down the path that it was actually going, which is effectively that this, high schooler Tom Cruise, which is weird to watch a movie where he's playing a high schooler because I'm so used to him being, this just same age looking dude for like 30 years, is when his parents are away for a week, he kind of gets roped into hiring a prostitute. And the prostitute comes over to his house, he has this wild night, but then he kind of gets wrapped up in things when she steals something from the house. And then it becomes this weird plot where he ends up working with her, and there's a whole thing about all of his other like rich white boyfriends like wanting prostitutes, and there's a whole plot I won't get into like the whole thing. I will say that I don't think this movie would exist today. I think the premise has some just naturally problematic elements because it's a bunch of people who are technically, even though the actors are all like 20, 22 or whatever, they're supposed to be teenagers, they're supposed to be 17, underage, and it's all a movie about. It's maybe like a relatively light-hearted kind of like comedy look about it. There's obviously there's some
risky business, that's for sure.
Some risky business. blew my mind is Joey Pants shows up in this movie, Joey Pantoliano, and he has hair, and he's really skinny in this movie. So I didn't even realize it was him until I started speaking and I heard the voice, and I went, holy shit.
You can't mistake that voice.
He looks so weird. Like, he looks so much better, a little fatter, with less hair than he does here. It was weirding me out. I did not like how he looked in this movie. I know that sounds weird, but it was...
I was going to ask you, did he, like, steal the scenes that he was in, like he does in The Matrix? And
he's all right in it. Like, he doesn't... His character's not as interesting as Cypher, I would say. But that's
a great Hollywood name, Joey Pants.
Yeah.
Good name.
But this is only like 2 years before The Goonies. And I know him very well from The Goonies, but he looks so different in this. It's really quite something. But, you know, it's got some, you know, risque, I suppose, premises and stuff. But premises? Just one premise? Premisi? You know, it's just got some kind of like... They're not even like raunchy scenes. They're more like kind of like over the top dream style shot. Because I actually see when he has sex with the prostitute early on, I wasn't sure if it really happened, if it was a dream sequence because of how it was shot, and because he's already had dream sequences at the start of the movie, which do have some nudity and stuff in them. So there is some, you know, stuff like that. But like, because he'd already had dream sequences, when he actually has sex with this prostitute, who turns out to be the co-lead of the film, I thought, oh, did that really happen, or is this just in his head? Because like the wind blows the doors open and there's some leaves blowing in as they're starting to make out, and I'm like, is this happening? I don't think it's happening. His two best friends in the movie are like that guys. One actor who I think I mainly remember is playing Booster from Jingle All the Way, but he's one of those guys who's popped up as a guest star in like tons of TV shows. And then the other guy, he's in like the first Beverly Hills Cop, but he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's got a really distinct like voice and face as well. But like, yeah, there's a few like faces in there that are, and they're very young versions because this is 1983, and most of these actors I knew from like, the 90s or whatever. So it wasn't a bad time though. There was always like a nice pacing to it. And my favorite thing about the movie is the music, because Tangerine Dream did the score. So it's got this very cool sound to it, like all the time.
That's great.
It's fairly stylistic, and you know, there's a lot of things to like about it. The premise is something that I can get into, is because it's a movie, and I'm like, yeah, I'll roll with it. But I understand why there's probably not been like the nostalgic reboot of this, because I feel like to people today would probably be like, isn't this a bit weird that we're kind of champion? It's the same way like American Pie, like yeah, they'd make more sequels to that now because the cast are all older potentially, but I don't know if they would remake the first American Pie again in the same way.
You have to do it God of War style, you know. God of War was a very specific type of masculine game for like three games, and then all of a sudden there's this fourth one that came out, but like it's very different because you don't really want to do the God of War from the 2000s again.
Yeah, and it is funny watching Tom Cruise freak out because he keeps, you know, getting pulled into this world of like this pimp and the prostitutes, and
you could see why as a young actor, like he was just throwing parts at him, leading roles at him, you know.
Oh sure, yeah, because I'd never seen his like super early stuff, you know. I knew him from kind of the 90s, I guess, because that's when I was growing up, but then like, over time I've seen a few of his earlier things, you know, like Top Gun, like this, which is the earliest thing I've seen from him now. So
Far and Away is okay. He's an Irishman in that. That's where he meets Nicole Kidman though.
I was recommended The Outsiders, which was even earlier than this, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. Actually, maybe I have, because I think it's a book adaptation, so maybe I did watch it in class or something, but it's not coming to mind. Like, I know his teeth are bad in it.
It did, you know, it did make me laugh occasionally, though. I did enjoy the style and the music, and you know, the general kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a movie about someone going down a rabbit hole. Is he going to manage to fix
it's not the John Hughes movie that you like remember from that time.
Is he going to like fix all this before his parents get back? And it feels very unrealistic that he will. In fact, honestly, the most unrealistic thing about this movie is how quickly a car gets fixed after the amount of damage that happens to it. And I was like, can they fix it that fast? I don't believe they can, but
yeah.
Because something happens to it.
It is kind of like a more realistic John Hughes movie in a way. Maybe just things from the 80s with like coming of age are always going to sort of feel like that. But
I don't know if I'd argue this is realistic, but
Well, I guess it feels more realistic than Ferris Bueller.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing to argue, because I don't know what it was like being a teenager in a rich white neighborhood in this part of the US in the early 80s, but maybe they were constantly getting prostitutes. I don't know. Certainly wasn't something I was doing in high school. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, not bad though. Not bad.
I love Tom Cruise. I mean, not as a person, but like, I love his movies, and I enjoy just watching his filmography because he's just such a great, movie star. He's just so reliably good.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that I'm watching this now, like, as he's just starting to show his age. Like, it's just starting to happen. These this last year or two, you can start to see it coming in. You're like, oh, you are 60. It's showing.
Yeah.
So, because for so long, he just couldn't age. It was weird.
He does look pretty good in Maverick, unless there's some CGI stuff going on. He's still, like, there's a, it's not a volleyball scene, but something similar, and he's got his shirt off, and he looks like he belongs with the young kids. I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he has put a lot of money into keeping that look. I'm sure there's a lot of efforts went into it.
There was a TMZ photo or something of him in a basketball game. I was gonna get it eventually. Sports ball. And the photograph, everyone was going around the internet, like, look at Tom Cruise, he looks so different, he looks like Norm Macdonald, like, he's got these really puffy cheeks, like something has been done to him, like, he looks like post Botox, but then it goes away really quickly, because, like, there's no other photo of him like that, and, like, he's made movies since then and he doesn't look like that. So maybe could have been something that he had done. Yeah,
maybe it's inflamed for a bit and it goes down over time.
It's like he's had a swollen tooth on both sides, or like a swollen nerve or something.
I think that's why he's doing these last two Mission Impossibles back to back, because he knows he's on a clock now. He can't do these movies forever, even if he wants to.
I don't know, man. Zeno is working with him, so.
All right, what you got?
I was looking for something to watch on Shudder again, and so I was thinking, I should check out the new VHS that came out like a year or two ago.
Is this viral?
It was VHS 94.
Oh, okay, I think that's newer. You're right. Okay.
I think Steven Kostansky, who did Psycho Gorman and Void and movies that I really like, I think he does like one of the segments in it, so I thought, oh, I'll watch that. And so I typed in V to try to find it. And for some reason, it didn't pop up right away. I'm like, that's weird. But I saw a movie called Vigilante, because I was just scrolling through. I'm like, whatever, I'll find something else to watch. And I typed in V. So I clicked Vigilante. And it's directed by William Lustig, who's known for the Maniac films. So Maniac and Maniac Cop 1, 2, and 3. And this is the movie that he did right after Maniac, and it stars Robert Forster and Fred Williamson. And it's like a gritty New York City 80s, where people were doing crime just because they were evil, and there were gangs everywhere who just like to rape and murder things, and that's just what they did because they're evil. But it's like it's Robert Forster's Death Wish movie.
Oh, interesting.
But I actually, by the director of Maniac.
I was just checking if I'd seen this, because this was something that I think I almost bought on like Blu-ray or something at some point, because I was buying like the Blue Underground releases at the time, and that's where I got Maniac, that's where I got Maniac Cop, and like some of these other films. And I remember having a cool poster, and the reason why I didn't is because at the time I was looking for horror movies, and this isn't a horror movie, but
it's not.
I remember the cover and the poster, and like it was something I almost bought a couple times.
There are some very horrific scenes in it, which I think maybe is what qualifies it to be on the Shudder app. But the poster is actually kind of dumb and misleading, because it looks a little bit like
The Warriors.
Like The Warriors, or like even like West Side Story, if you're just on one side of the gang there. Like it looks like a phony gang. And this gang is very like over the top, but in a really fun, cheesy 80s way. but like the stuff that happens in it, like this one really like makes Death Wish look like it wanted to be this, you know. It's very, very like dark and gritty, the things that they do in it. I did laugh a couple of times, and it's Robert Forster in a lead role. Like he's, you know,
There's just
we
a
don't have
year
him anymore, so we have to savor what we got.
And this is only a year or two after Alligator, which we just did recently.
Which was a huge blast of fun to watch, and looking forward to Alligator 2, which I don't think he's in, but that's all right.
Yeah, but Richard Lynch is in it though, so you've got something to look forward to.
You know I'm on board. Fred Williamson also like is just a guy who's just maybe the king of B movies. Like he's just done so much stuff. A lot of blaxploitation films also, and like he's always fun to see. And he's just he's super gritty. He plays like, you know, a good guy in this, but it's very if it's questionable. You know, he's like the leader of the vigilante group that's like trying to stop these gangs. For like, you know, the cops are useless. All the judges have been paid off and stuff like that. There's just so much corruption. So all these gangs are just getting away with being evil. And so that's what like Forster is getting recruited by this vigilante group that, you know, they all work together in like this factory because something has happened to Forster's family, which has drugged him into this. So I definitely recommend it. Like it was actually a very fun watch, and good. It's a good movie.
I'll add it to the watch list because I think I like Forster, and I like these types of, you know, William Lustig great, because I think Maniac's great. I think that first Maniac movie is a really great, gritty little movie. And I love the remake as well, because it's like, let's just do it again, but in POV.
One of the best posters of all time, probably.
Yeah, no, I like the sounds of it. But I'm out. Do you have as many? How many more do you want to talk about?
I mean, I could just run through some stuff. A lot of stuff I think I've gone over most of the things that I've watched this month that are new to me. One thing I got from Comic-Con is I ended up at this one booth where they were selling all these DVDs. I'm like, oh, let me check this out. And I wander over there. I'm like, wait a second, these are all full moon movies. Is this like a full moon booth? And the guy working behind it, watching me going through the movies, is like, yes. So I'm like, oh, cool. So I got in a conversation about, you know, with the guy about the movies and stuff, and how I enjoy them. Like we watched all the transfers, and I love that. I just, you know, I disliked the quality of you know, not being able to get transfers 4, 5, and 6, like with the quality of the first 3. And he's like, well, if you really want to watch them with the better, higher quality, you can check out our app. So Full Moon now has its own app, and
okay, I will
have been remastered for the app.
Okay, I will be surprised if they're actually, like, see if 4, 5, and 6 are actually HD on that app. I will be surprised. I will compliment them for it, but I will be surprised.
I've checked out 4. I haven't watched it yet, but I did check out 4, and I just like, you know, clicked through. I've already seen it, so there's no spoilers. And I will say it looks pretty good. So I was really impressed. So yeah, I got the app, which by the way is way too expensive for what it is. It's just the catalog of Full Moon and whatever they were before they became Full Moon. It was a different name.
Did you get a free trial? Or did you actually pay for a month?
No, I paid for a month.
Okay.
But I think it's more expensive than Shudder, which like doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah,
because it's very niche and specific. It's just filming pictures.
I don't think I'll keep it, but I have been like scrolling through, and this is the part where you judge me. But I was so curious about it. But it said Evil Bong was remastered, and that was probably like the worst quality film that I had seen from like the 90s, because it looked like, even for its even for the time that it came out and for the audience that came out, it still looked really bad. But I thought if they can remaster this to where it looks good, then like this app might be worth it. So I watched Evil Bong, and I actually kind of liked it watching it. And I've since watched Evil Bong 2 and 3. 2 was really fun. It's called Evil Bong 2 King Bong. And much like the first Evil Bong, they got a really great charismatic person to voice King Bong. The third one I'll say takes a little bit of a dip. But it is sci-fi, so if you ever want to cover it one day,
I can assure you, I will not.
It's a bong from space. But the voice of the bong, although it's very different from the first two, it's not as fun. It kind of looks like it looks a little bit like the design of Ghidorah, which I think was on purpose because it comes from space. In a meteor. Also has a guy who, dips his finger in goo and decides to taste it for some reason also, and some space goo, and things happen from there. But I've also found that there's a running joke through these films where, I don't know if you remember the main crew, the main characters. There's the guy, the one that's super stoner stereotype whose catchphrase is monkey. There's the sports guy who's really into his trophies. And there's the, God, I can't remember his name. But there's like the main roommate guy who's a little bit paranoid, and very horny. That's his thing. And then our lead guy is Alistair, who is the nerd who like isn't really into marijuana, but like, these are his friends now. They've had this adventure together, so they're kind of close. And the running gag, I guess, I don't know if this continues past the third one. I'll let you know, though, is that Alistair is recast every movie. And it barely goes noticed by the other guys because, they're stoned. So, yeah, I've been watching the Evil Bong movies. I plan to keep going with them. Finish out the franchise. I guess that's mostly it. I don't know if there's anything else. I got to share a movie that I really love with a friend of mine who also appreciates bad movies. We watched Fateful Findings together, which is a Neil Breen movie. And I will say, man, like watching it with someone else, like having a group to watch the movie where we can like share reactions to how amazing and ridiculous these the acting, the writing, the directing, the editing, the music was so fun. And it might be like it's up there with Samurai Cop for me now. Like I can't tell you how bad good this Neil Breen masterpiece is.
I've seen many a clip. I've never actually watched a Neil Breen film all the way through, although I suspect that one day there'll be a reason to for content.
I wish so bad that there was something science fiction about it so that we could watch it, but like, although there is some mysterious stuff that happens, it seems to just be magic. It doesn't seem to be connected to technology or aliens.
I don't know if every stuff crosses into sci-fi, although they're all
Twisted Pair definitely is. I've only seen those two. I've seen Fateful Findings a few times, and I've seen Twisted Pair once, but I gotta watch the rest of the Breenverse. Like, Fateful Findings is just a masterpiece of entertainment.
All right.
Anyway, nothing to say about Evil Bong?
No.
Okay.
I refuse.
I thought you guys were going to keep going and like...
No, we weren't. I made it very clear at the end of that episode that I was not touching the rest of them.
And a movie that I know you watched recently, but it was like the 25th anniversary of Air Force One, so I watched that.
Ah, yeah. That wasn't that recent. That was about a year ago I think I watched that, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Was that your first time watching it?
No, I'd seen it before.
Okay.
That was maybe my second or third time seeing it.
Like, Gary Oldman's so good in that.
I feel like Alan Rickman set this bar with Hans Gruber that then all these knockoff movies for the next decade, it's like we're trying to, but we got a lot of good ones. Dennis Hopper in Speed, Gary Oldman in Air Force One. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, I agree. Like everyone's trying to be Gruber, or at least to be that kind of magnetic personality. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're going to get somebody like Gary Oldman is a good get, because he pulls off the Russian pretty well. I think he's Russian in it. Yeah, he's definitely Russian. But I think he does a really good job with it, and he's just, yeah, it's a really fun movie.
Yeah, I'm maybe going to give the hot take and say that I actually, it's maybe lower on my top 10 of like Die Hard style knockoff movies. As much as obviously it's got worse actors, I do prefer the Under Siege movies to Air Force One.
Under Siege is pretty good.
For a variety of reasons.
I like Under Siege 2 a lot.
I love Under Siege 2. I think it's so good.
Yeah.
But those are the ones. There's the ice hockey rink one with Van Damme, which I think is called Sudden Death. There's I'm sure there's a few other ones that I'm forgetting, but yeah, I wouldn't really count Speed, but I compared Hopper to the villain, but I wouldn't say Speed is.
Speed is kind of like a Die Hard movie.
It's not really.
You don't think so?
It's not like there's like terrorists on the bus that he's dodging and
No, I mean it's just Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, the villain is very Die Hard.
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty good. It's pretty. I think you can describe it as Die Hard on a bus.
I think it's excellent, but I disagree with the Die Hard on the bus.
Are you guys doing the Black Phone on Screams?
We will be. We don't know. I think we're doing Final Destination 5, and I think we might have to like do our next Twilight movie because we're owed that to the audience before we do Black Phone. But yeah.
I did go see that in theaters also, again at my mother's insistence. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was all right. I know. I think Tim talked about it on Even More Screams.
A little bit, yeah.
And he was blown away by how like tropey and bad it was, but I actually had a good time with it. So
I mean, I've not liked the Scott Derrickson movie that I've seen yet, so we'll see how I feel when I watch it. But my expectations are in the mud, shall we say?
I think the Red Letter Media guys liked it, and they don't like anything. So
I mean,
but I liked it too. I thought it was like it felt like an older movie, like a movie that doesn't get made anymore.
I do watch Red Letter Media, but I don't tend to watch the discussions of movies I've not seen, unless it's something that I just expect to not watch.
Yeah, it came on my recommendations, and I thought I'll listen to this just to see what other people think about it, because I hadn't seen any other reviews. And I don't typically like to listen to them just because they can be kind of cruel and make fun of things that I like, but I think they both liked it.
Honestly, like, I'd recommend Best of the Worst over their reviews of modern movies, because that
does seem more like my taste. But like, there's one loud guy that I don't really like listening to.
I know who it is. It's Rich Evans.
Yeah.
I knew exactly
who
that is. He's got a very distinct laugh. There was a great story one of the other guys told about how they went to see like one of the big new movies that came out a few years ago, and they didn't know they were at the same showing, but just as the movie was like ending, Jack was saying that he was up near the front and he could just hear Richie's laugh coming from the back of the theatre, and he knew that Rich was there. He's like, he's here.
That's funny. I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks that.
Oh, he's very loud and distinct.
Yeah. He's a bit much for me, that's all.
I do like Best of the Worst. I think Best of the Worst is a really good show, but but they're looking at terrible movies. That's how I know about a lot of these things. Like, that's where I've seen clips of Neil Breen movies, because they talk about them.
I wouldn't mind if maybe I'll check out their review of Fateful Findings. I think they do like a bunch of movies, right?
They always do 3 and then pick the best of the 3 at the end of the show. That's
that has to be the best, because
that one.
That movie is a masterpiece, a goddamn masterpiece.
They do episodes where they do like non-movies called Wheel of the Worst, but they do like it's like random different things. Like, it's different like VHS tapes that existed in the 90s and 80s, where it's like maybe an exercise video, it might be like an educational video, or so on and so on. The episode they did, which had it was like a tape that was shown to police called Surviving Edge Weapons, and it is the most hilarious thing you've ever seen, because it's all these recreations of how these different cops could be stabbed, and it's like blades hidden in like all the weirdest places, and just
that does sound pretty great, actually.
It was just really absurd. I recommend that episode. I can't remember off the top of my head what number it is, because it's just a numbered episode, but yeah, so no, I've discovered many a bad movie through that show.
So you're gonna check out some of the movies that I watched?
Are you gonna be disappointed if we come back here next month and I've not watched one or two of them?
Nah, that's okay. Just add them to your list for eventually.
Yeah, I know. I've noted a few down. I would say Vigilante is probably the most likely one to get to soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, you'll like it, I think. I mean, if you're okay with like the Death Wish style movies, revenge kind of style.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in moderation, sure.
Yeah. This one, I think, it doesn't glorify it as much as Death Wish. You know, there are very real consequences that happen.
Yeah, the other movie.
But there's definitely some tropes, like, a lot of tropes in it.
Yeah, the other movie of this sort of like level that I've seen that's like that type of movie. It's probably a bit more. Not necessarily more. I don't know how violent Vigilante is, but like it's more violent in an over the top way. Because if you look at the poster for it, you'll sort of see why. But it's called The Exterminator, and it's kind of like this. You know, Vigilante goes out and starts killing gang members because something happens to his. Because they're like him and his buddy are both vets, and like his buddy gets attacked, and he's like, "Oh, I can't have this." So.
If you can stomach the animal cruelty, I do think Wake and Fright is something you would really like.
Okay. I've noted it down. It'll get added to the watch list, and we'll see how it goes. But all right, that is it for the inaugural edition of the Ace Meltdown. And I think we've actually just a little bit past the longest running Even More Screams by a smidge. So
that makes sense. We had 2 quizzes.
Yeah, I guess we had 2 quizzes. Maybe we also had a nice segment on your Comic-Con trip, which was cool, and it was distinct. It made it different, but you know, that was a nice little 15-20 minute segment. So,
and it connected to my Full Moon Pictures app.
Here's a little anecdote. I mean, you might have heard this because you might have listened to the TV news already, but God Told Me took him up in conversation.
Yes, I did hear that.
Yeah, and Connor was like, "Oh, have you made Tara watch that yet for Ace?" And I'm like, "Not only have we watched it on Ace, she stumbled onto it a couple of years ago, and I got so excited when she brought it up." So, yes.
Yep. I understand why people would think that you'd have to be shown the movie or told about the movie to watch it, but I legit just went, wonder what this is.
And I said, we have to talk about this. We have to talk about God Told Me to.
Richard Lynch movie. Yeah.
So, no, there you go. So if you enjoyed that first episode, this will be a new monthly bonus at the $5 tier. Similar format. I'll do a quiz. Maybe Tara will do a quiz. If we have some kind of other segment, in this case it was the Comic-Con stuff, then we'll have one in there too, and then we'll just talk about what we've been watching. So that is the plan. This has been episode 1 of The Meltdown. So thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. We appreciate your support and for being patrons. Thank you very much. Thank you kindly, and we will see you next time. I don't have an outro for this because I didn't really think about it in advance.
I lost the quiz, so I don't have to make one.
That's true. You're right. You don't. Oh. All right. So there you go. That is the Ace Meltdown. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time. Keep watching movies and computer add
guacamole.